Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of the RocknRoll Beer Guy Podcast. In this episode, I talked to Mark Vieira. Mark currently manages the bands 1349, Ringworm, Silver Snakes, Black Tusk, and a few others, working for Oracle Management. He used to work for Prosthetic Records and several other record labels. We get into that with our conversation. We dig a little deep into his past. We talk a lot about music. We talk a little bit about beer. Of course, he and I have our Let There Be Heels podcast along with Sarah and Zack. And so we do end up talking a little bit about wrestling. And then we finish up with a very spoilerific discussion about Star Wars The Last Jedi. I had a great time talking to him, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please don't forget to share and like and review on iTunes. And right now we have RocknRoll Beer Guy official t-shirts available for sale. If you go to One Effing Inc., that's one EFFIN Inc., you can customize your own shirt. Pick any color shirt you want, any color ink. You can even do hoodies with our logo on it. And every shirt you purchase helps out the podcast. They're going to become one of our main sponsors pretty soon here. And I really appreciate them helping us out right now, getting out some merch for you guys. We already sold a hoodie and a few shirts, so it's looking good. Cheers. Welcome, everyone, to the RocknRoll Beer Guy Podcast. I'm here with Mark Vieira.
You're making it sound way too ethnic.
Sorry, I'm Cuban.
Yeah.
Vieira. Yeah. So where's that from?
It's Portuguese.
Okay.
Which is sort of Spanish.
Sort of.
Yeah, almost Spanish.
It's drunk Spanish.
Yeah.
Drunk French Spanish.
Yeah, we're the sub-Spanish.
Yeah, it was weird spending time out there, dude, and talking to them because I understood them all. Like, we went to We went to Portugal for a couple days, and yeah, it's Spanish, but they're off a little bit.
I think the history of the language, the etymology, is that the right word?
Etymology?
Or is that studying bugs? I can never get these things straight. I've been out of school for a long time. But like I believe like Portuguese is like a blend of Spanish with some French.
Okay. Spanish. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. That does sound like it. I also took 2 semesters of French in high school.
Oh, look at you.
Fancy. Mostly so I can get laid in high school. That was key.
Oui, oui.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, you speak French? What? Yeah. But knowing a little bit of French and knowing a lot of Spanish, that was actually my first language. I learned English afterwards.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. You are from Florida.
I am brown of skin. I'm also I'm from Jersey.
Really? Oh, I thought you were a Floridian native.
No, I was there so long, I might as well be.
Okay.
You know, like, I was born in Jersey City, and then around 14 is when I think we moved to Florida, and then I did, because I was a freshman in Jersey in high school, and then I did sophomore in Florida. So, yeah, about 15, I don't know.
Okay.
But, yeah, I was in Florida for way too long, hanging out with all the balseros, the rafter Cubans.
I was thinking like in the rafters, like a bunch of Cuban guys like hanging from a roof.
Yelling. Oi!
Yeah, there's a big Cuban population in that part of Jersey anyway, right?
Yeah, especially back then. Like it started moving. A lot of them started moving to North Carolina, which is surprising enough. But they moved away because we started getting like an influx of Dominicans and like Hondurans and other Latinos that needed the space.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to say that. And most of them just migrated to North Carolina. Actually.
Which is strange.
Yeah.
But it's like even like in LA, like Chinatown, which is, you know, a pretty decent sized Chinatown, is actually has a very small population of Chinese people. Like the Chinese all moved out to Alhambra, Monterey Park, like out that way years ago as the
tourism grew.
Well, as like Cambodian and Thai immigrants and stuff
right.
started coming in, I guess probably post Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so
sense.
you have a much larger other Asian population in the Chinatown area than you have Chinese people.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, Chinatown, I mean, it's a tourist attraction. It's not really
a functioning Chinatown like you have in
No.
like San Francisco or Seattle or Boston
or
or
even
New York.
here, dude. You go to Koreatown here, it's pretty legit. Like the billboards are all in Korean, the
Oh,
newspaper
in
stands are
LA.
all Korean. Yeah, in
Yeah,
LA.
yeah.
Like that's a legit Koreatown. You could get lost if you're not paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Little Tokyo is like same thing. It's like it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah, that one's more touristy, but Korea, like
Yeah.
the smaller ones, are more pretty authentic. I would think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not from there. But anyway, Mark, you, for people that don't know, we have a wrestling podcast.
We do.
Let There Be Heels. Listen to us talk about wrestling because we're probably going to talk about wrestling at some point during this interview.
We will inevitably fall into it.
But you manage bands.
I do.
You have been managing bands for many years.
I have.
How many? 15?
Too many.
30?
I think I started, I graduated from college in 98. I finished college at the end of 98. I technically graduated in 99. But I think that was around the time I started like maybe managing like my first band or so.
Okay.
Kind of like getting my feet wet and doing internships with a couple of other bigger managers. And then, by the time I was out of college, I went on tour for a while, came back and was like fully like, I'm a band manager. And did that amongst other things, and kind of have continued to do so. I've had stops at a couple of different record labels and some stuff with some clothing company. Well, actually, a clothing company.
So you worked with Prosthetic.
Yeah, the most recent label I worked with was Prosthetic. I was there for 3 years as the director of promotions, which really was just sort of the fancy way to say I was like the in-house publicist. I did radio, and then I ended up kind of project managing a few different, or I guess it technically be product managing, more or less A&Ring a few different bands that were there at the time. So I worked with the Acacia Strain, Animals as Leaders, The Greenery, which Zack, who does the wrestling podcast with us, that's how I know Zack. We signed his band, and I was their go-to guy at the label for a while.
That's cool, man. So do you remember your first band, the one that you said you like, the one that kind of was the first band?
Yeah, the first band I ever managed was actually the Ducky Boys.
Ducky Boys. I don't think I've heard of them.
They were they toured with Dropkick Murphys and like Skavoovy and Blank 77. Like they were a Boston punk band. Like they started, actually I think they may have started a little before Dropkicks, but they were part of that class in like 95, 96, 97. That was Dropkick Murphys, Unseen, the Ducky Boys, The Trouble, 30 Seconds Over Tokyo.
All right.
That crop of new Boston bands that kind of blew up and sort of put Boston punk on the map. Obviously, Dropkicks went past that, but like, there was actually a period of time where like the Ducky Boys were actually bigger than the Dropkicks. I wasn't involved in it. That was probably the mistake they made. Like, oh, cool, we'll get a manager too. Throwing the brakes on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was like a really exciting time. Like those were all bands that were kind of coming up in the Rat, which was more or less Boston CBGB.
Okay.
And much like CB's, like it had been around for decades, and it was sort of one of those clubs that went through like, it had like in the early 80s had a huge punk scene, and then like those bands kind of went away and it kind of became like a crappy club, and then like there was this resurgence, and it was sort of like I said with CB's, where like you kind of had, after the original punk thing, nothing really happened there until sort of like hardcore kids in the 80s were like, hey, can we put on shows in this space? And Hilly was like, yeah, sure, sure, the kids are gonna show up, cool. The Rat was sort of the same way. So like the Rat was just sort of a place that would let kind of anything go on. It was at that point it was like a glorified DIY space almost. I mean, it was a dump. It was falling apart.
That sounds like Churchill's in Florida.
Yeah, probably. Although Churchill's is still around, whereas the Rat
is gone.
Yeah, they've actually been closed for 20 years. I think like in October.
Well, that's pretty awesome to think that Churchill's is like the last standing fucking shithole in the United States.
Yeah,
it's pretty old. It's pretty run down. It's pretty awful, really. But it's our awful.
Right. I mean? Yeah, it was like if you talk to anybody who went to CB's or went to the Rat or the old 930 Club in DC, which was also a dump and closed in 95 and reopened as a much nicer room. Like everybody has the rose-colored glasses of how great like Like, oh my God, it was such a treasure. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, no,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was like you were
It was
up
a
you were,
dump.
you were up to your ankles in urine if you were lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an incident at the Rat where there was a weekend where there were 3 shows on the Saturday and I think maybe 2 shows on the Sunday. I don't know how you do that, but they did it. Like there was like a noon Veruca's show. Then then there were 2 Sheer Terror shows. It was Sheer Terror's first time they broke up. They did like a matinee, like hardcore. No, was it the matinee like punk show with the Ducky Boys? Maybe the Bruisers played, and then the night show was with like Blood for Blood and Marauder. It was all like the tough guy Adidas kind of bands.
Adidas.
And then the following day, I think the Antiheroes played, which was another big deal. I don't know. I guess they had been in Boston before that in the previous couple of years, but that was like the oi explosion, if you will, the explosion. And a sewage pipe had burst on the ceiling. It was like 'cause the venue was in the basement. You know, the main floor was like a bar restaurant, and the venue was downstairs. And so by the time we showed up for like the Sheer Terror show, a pipe had burst. The floor had been covered in sewage. So, well, what are you going to do? Like, we have all these shows. We're going to get bags of kitty litter, and we're just going to put kitty litter down.
Oh, good Lord.
So the floor for the weekend was like covered in kitty litter, which is actually probably almost worse than raw sewage because it's just kicking up dust and dirt. I mean, we all had like just brown and black boogers, and I mean, I'm sure people probably died from that. Like people,
somebody got cancer.
Definitely,
that
absolutely got cancer.
Shit. What was it that they used in school for like vomit? Was it like wood chips or?
Sometimes they use sawdust, and they had some other crap too. They would put down from bar. I remember it was like a white stuff. I think.
Yeah, mostly in my school it was the sawdust. I think it was like wood, and it was so disgusting because it just smelled really bad. It was puke with wood.
Yeah,
barrel aged puke.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh God,
a whiskey aged cask.
For sure. I mean, they could get into that market selling craft
vomit,
not vomit,
or craft wood chips.
Craft wood chips for your vomit.
Somebody has to do that, right? Is there like, I don't even know if that's safe, but can you buy like?
I'm sure they have packages that are labeled as such, like vomit stop, and it's fucking.
Well, no, I meant for like fireplaces or like where places that you put wood chips down.
Oh, you mean like a permit? What do you mean?
No. Like there has to. I'm assuming there's like a product where like somebody has chopped up old whiskey barrels and made them into like some sort of wood chip or something, and like if you burn it, it smells.
Yeah, they have them for infusions. They sell them in little packages.
So this is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You could buy like a Ziploc with a couple chips soaked in Blue Label or whatever. That somebody they'll sell it to you for a premium because Blue Label's expensive. So if you want Blue Label fucking wood chips, they'll sell it to you. But
see, I thought we were onto something, and
it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. There's so many. It's funny, man, because I consider myself somebody that knows a lot about music. I mean, I've dedicated most of my life to it. So when I hear you talk about music, you're mentioning a shit ton of bands I've never heard of, and it just blows my mind. Like, I have no matter how much you think you know about music, you have no idea. There are so many levels to it that, I mean, I was just slightly off of that time. Like, to me, Boston is hardcore, like breakdowns, like Unearth type of shit.
Okay, yeah, because you're a few years younger than me.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Like, I mean, and that to me, like, I was more of a punk kid at that point. So, like, you know, kind of like I had come up and like been into metal and gotten into punk, and then we're more into metal, and then like through high school, like alternative music was becoming a thing. So like I kind of got more into that, and then got more into punk rock when I got out of high school. So like I actually was at one of Kill Switch's first shows with Jesse. Like I actually worked the show.
Nice.
And I had known Jesse for years before, because he and I are about the same age, and we both kind of grew up in the Providence area.
Nice. Going
to shows together. And like I used to go see his old band, Corinne. I'm assuming it's his first band. Maybe he did something before that. But I had seen Corinne a bunch of times. That like I was like working the door at Bill's Bar in Boston, and like Jesse rolled up and was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, bud?" And it was like, "Oh, this my new band's playing tonight." And that ended up being the night that they actually signed to Roadrunner.
Nice.
Or they didn't sign that night, but that was the night where like Roadrunner had come out for another band.
And they saw them.
And like it was really awkward because it was really obvious that the band that they had come out to see was not getting signed. It was super like it was like the Roadrunner people were like, you know, with Jesse and stuff, were like, big figs, hug, you know, label stuff, like hugs, yeah, fucking gonna be great. And then the other band were like, hey, and they were like, yeah, guys, we'll call you, like as they were running down the street.
Oh Lord, that's rough, dude. That's another aspect of music that people don't really know. Like we know because you've been doing it for years. I know because I was in a band. Like it's not easy being in a band. Like it sounds like such a nice dream. Like there was especially this like when Rock Band and Guitar Hero were a thing. Mm-hmm. There was this like boom in Florida of bands. They were like, well, I want to do this for real. And they were just really bad bands, dude. Like really terrible bands that needed a lot of work, but they had a lot of money. And so they were just shoving it, like they were just shoving it into everything. Like we're going to open up for Ozfest and you know, shit like that, or let us play the side stage at Warped Tour. And they're paying for this, but they're just awful, terrible bands. I'm not going to name them, but anybody.
No, I definitely like. There was a bit. This popped up yesterday, and it's funny that you said this because there's this one band again. I won't mention their name either because I'm sure they're really nice guys. They seem nice. They're not from here. I don't know them personally, but they're definitely like they have obviously like self-released records and hired a publicist, and they'll get news on sites, you know, and it's like, oh, you know, they're playing, you know, not Ozfest, but you know, they're playing whatever festival, and it's like you look and it's like, oh, they're playing at 11 o'clock, you know, at the like the Barry's Bar parking lot stage, brought to you by like Modelo. Yeah. You know, and
like the local savings and loans bank.
Yeah, for sure. And like they have all this cool, you know, like, oh, you know, we got one of the guys from Mudvayne on the record, and it's like, oh, how much did you pay that dude to be on your record?
Right.
You know? And like I was reading yesterday, like a music festival. Again, I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to give away who this band is. But like I was reading through, like they had posted some bands that are playing said festival, and there was a comment from somebody, like most of the posts were like, oh, this band's so rad, so cool, awesome, great, this is a great lineup. And there's a post that was like, oh, can somebody give me the email address to submit an EPK to? I know that the festival's probably booked for this year, but maybe for 2019 we can play it. And I was like, who does that? And I clicked and I was like, oh my God, he's in that. It's that a guy from that band.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, you just totally don't. You're not doing it right. Not to mention the band and the festival are so far apart. Aside from being considered heavy metal in a grander scheme, it would make no freaking sense whatsoever.
Fuck, man. I've actually been thinking about writing a book about punishing. Like people that punish musicians. The Punishers. You have a name. You're being called Punishers. And it's like, I want to educate people just a little bit as to how to handle being around a band or something.
Yeah. One of my friends made an image. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. But it's one of the old Toy Biz Marvel action figures. It's the Punisher, you know, the old white boots and stuff.
Yeah.
But he photoshopped it so it doesn't have the skull and it has a circular British flag with "Oi" in it.
That's awesome.
Which it's totally accurate. Like, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just I keep hearing these horror stories from people. I'm now, because of the podcast and because of the, you know, I'll post a picture with Adam or something, people are hitting me up. And it's like, dude, you're not doing it right, man. Like half of the people that call me and hit me up, they're like, how are you doing this? I'm like, dude, I'm just doing it, man. I wanted to do a podcast and I'm talking to some people that I know. It's easy. But then there's the other half that they're like, oh, can you give my band demo to Adam from Killswitch? I'm like, never.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam's totally going to listen to that right away.
Right away, dude. I'll sit there in the car with him and we'll listen to it together.
I'm going to go pick him up. I mean, dude, we used to play like demos across America when we were on tour because people go like, and look, sometimes this has actually worked. Like I know of bands that have gotten signed by giving demos.
No,
to bands,
Like I'm trashing it, but it's definitely effective. It's just the success rate is a lot lower than.
Yeah, no, I always say like, I mean, when I was at Prosthetic, I used to tell bands this, and I had done interviews about this, that like the best way to get the attention of, you know, a label or whatever is sort of like, you know, when you're the local opener for Goat Whore, like, is to fucking blow Goat Whore's socks off. Yeah. Not to punish him, not to pass this on to Metal Blade, but like to actually be like, oh shit, like, and have Goat Whore be like, man, we played in Dallas last night and there was this fucking band and they were awesome, and they're gonna tell their manager or their booking agent or their label, like, hey, next time we go through, let's put Scumbucket on the show again.
Right.
Like, oh, cool. And like that's kind of how, like, I mean, that's sort of how, like, I mean, Skeleton Witch were an unsolicited demo at Prosthetic. They were signed before I got there. Like, they were going in to do their second record for Prosthetic when I started there. But like, they were an unsolicited demo. Like, that was like going through boxes. It was like, oh, this is cool, really cool. This is good. And then Prosthetic signed them. But then there were definitely a couple of bands that we signed while I was at Prosthetic that were based on the recommendation of Skeleton Witch. You know, like, where they had said like, oh man, like, you know, check this band out. These guys are good. Or we'd be like, hey, have you heard of so-and-so? Like, you know, their press kit says they opened for, they opened for us in Seattle. They're a good band. Like, cool. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of the best way to really kind of do it. I mean, we used to play demos across America. That was literally, this is such an asshole thing to say, but the world needs to know. Like, I mean, we used to, when we would go on tour, I mean, we used to have a contest. You'd put a demo in, and this is starts with cassettes. But like, you'd put a demo in, and it was like, you know, all right, demo starting. And then like everybody would start looking around at each other in the car or the van. Like, and then it almost became like a, who's going to crack first? And then there would be sort of this, like, somebody would jump, like, who can get the tape out the quickest and get it out the window? And that's why we call it Demos Across America, because we were literally just fucking tossing demos
across America.
Yeah, there was me and a friend definitely did that with some Oi band's demo in Boston one time. Like, we weren't even on tour. Like, we were like, I had picked him up and we were going to a show or going to a bar or something, and we had a demo. And it definitely went off one of the bridges in Boston. It's like, get that out of my fucking car! Whoosh.
Oh, God, man.
Yeah, and that thing landed on a boat or something.
I mean, I've done my share of handing out demos in my youth. Not something I would recommend to a lot of people, dude. Like,
it shows hustle, and that's cool. But
the hustle part of it is admirable. But like, the only thing a young band should be concerning themselves with is making sure that they have a good sound. They know how to play live, play your instruments properly, okay? And then go out there and put the best show you've ever played every single night.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Pro gear, pro tude.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a Guitar Center.
Show up, load up your gear professionally in a timely manner.
That right there, I was actually waiting for, I was hoping you were going to say that. I was about to jump in. Like, that's one of the killers. And like, this actually happened to me with one of the bands I worked with, you know, probably 15 years ago, that I hadn't noticed. Like, they were a band that had a draw, they had a buzz, and it had kind of not occurred to me how badly they were lollygagging getting off stage. And the guy who runs their label actually came up to me and was like, hey, excuse me. It's like, hey, I normally wouldn't ask a manager to do this, but I know you have touring experience. Like, somebody just came up to me and made a comment about how slow they are getting off the stage. Like, you need to teach them to fucking how to get off the stage, how to pack up, get your shit out of the venue. And like, that was like an important lesson. Like, I was like, you know what, you're right. And I had to talk to the band. And like, the next show I was like, cool, roadie Mark, let's go. Like, get the fucking drums. No, don't take that shit apart. Off the stage.
Yeah. Take everything, grab it, and run off the stage.
Yeah,
take care of all kind of breakdown outside.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody comes up to the stage and wants to talk to you, like, obviously we're talking smaller venues, so you're gonna have like a fan or somebody like, hey, that was a really good set.
Yeah,
like, for sure, it'd be like, hey, thanks, man, cool. Like, and if it goes into more than that, just say, hey, give me a minute, let me get my stuff off the stage. Like, meet me over by the merch table. Let's totally shoot the shit.
Yeah,
like,
be cool. That's the other thing. Just be cool about it. You're hey, I gotta go finish packing up. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I promise. Meet me at the booth. Like you said. You know, that's
perfect.
Get your shit off stage.
You want a guitar pick? You want a set list? Cool. Here you go.
Exactly.
Meet me in 5 minutes. I just gotta get. You know, not every venue needs you to load out right away, but at least break your stuff down. Put it in that corner by the door, whatever the sound guy has told you to do.
Pretty much.
Assuming the house sound guy is cognitive and
professional in any kind of way,
somewhat sober,
which they never are. They never are.
Let's not say never, but like
90% of the time. Especially at Churchill's. Whoo boy. And a lot of those guys are my friends, so I can fucking talk shit about them, but Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, some of the clubs in Boston where, like, we had some really anal retentive, like, good sound guys. Because a lot of the sound guys in Boston, like, were actually touring front of house engineers that would do house sound when they weren't on the road.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you've got, like, the Boston's front of house guy or Caven's front of house guy, and this is like when Caven were doing 1,000 to 2,000 cap rooms, you know, like, that's like, those guys are like, move your shit. And like, they're like,
or we'll
go.
Move it.
Yeah.
We'll
like,
move
you take it out of the venue or we'll take it out of the venue.
Exactly. Fuck that. Yeah, dude, it's so weird. I used to, my band, I had a fucking ridiculous setup that I would bring to every show that was ridiculous only to me. The whole purpose of this setup was to make the sound guy's life easy, and everybody loved me for it. I would show up with all these boxes and shit, and the guy's like, fuck, man, how many DI boxes do you need? I'm like, nope, I got you. Here are your 2 XLRs. Move along. And that's it. He's like, what do you want? I'm like, flat, nothing else. Just put the volume up. When I say okay, I'll handle the rest over here. I had a mixing board. I had a couple pedals for my voice. I had keyboards. Like, Jesus. It was just madness. And most of it was so that the vocal sounded good, and I had like proper delay in certain parts of songs and whatever was necessary. Sometimes I had like distortion for like a crazier part, and then like 10 seconds of keyboard parts. Because it's not like a prog metal band where like I'm playing the whole time in the background.
You're just doing some like
and then it goes into a breakdown. Like, okay. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
to have
like Alex from Silver Snakes, who are one of the bands I manage. Like he's a recording engineer, and he's got a pretty like kind of has his shit dialed in the same way. Because I mean, they run samples while they play, and like they have the drummer has to wear headphones, and you know, and Alex the same thing. He's
laptops.
Got he's got a keyboard set up, you know, and it's not like he's like Elton John over there, you know, but like he's doing his little Trent Reznorism, some like parts here and there and stuff, but like he's got a thing pretty dialed in so that sound guys don't usually hate him.
That's important, man. The sound guy is going to make your band sound good to the crowd, so don't piss him off.
He has the ability to make your band sound good for the crowd.
Right. He could just not level anything or not mic things out. And you have a set where it's all guitars and no drums. Nobody hears the drums.
Yeah. We had I played in a band for about a year, maybe 2. But I was managing the dude's previous band, and then he was like, I'm going to break this band up, and I want to do something more stripped down, more like Americana. Because the band he had been in before was kind of more like Replacements, Buffalo Tom, like early Goo Goo Dolls, sort of like not power pop, but more along a power pop kind of thing.
Okay.
Like. And he was like, yeah, I just want to like, they had some sort of more stripped down Americana songs built in. He was like, I just want to go completely in that direction. So it was like, cool. And then I decided to put out his record, which like I had my own record label for a little while that I am still paying off somehow.
What was it called?
Lonesome Recordings.
Okay.
I mean, it was for the most part all Boston bands. We had one band from Jersey, and I think that's as far out as we sort of branched. But we put out the artist was Elgin James. He's gone on to be like a director who did a critically acclaimed indie film called Little Birds, and he's actually one of he's the co-creator of the new Sons of Anarchy spinoff. The Mayans spinoff.
I don't know. I never watched Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, really? Oh, weird. I would have thought you would have. But yeah, no, I watched that show, and yeah, so he's actually one of the co-creators of the spinoff called Mayans, which is about the Mexican. Basically, like if Sons of Anarchy are basically the Hells Angels. Yeah. The Mayans were basically the Mongols.
Gotcha.
So like it was the Latino gang that were sort of rivals. I mean, in the TV show, they were more sort of rivals, sometimes friends, than in the real world. But so he's a co-creator of that, and like he's been, you know, he and I have been friends for over 20 years. We were in each other's weddings and stuff, so like we go way back. But like, so he was like, hey, you know, we're stripping this down even more. Do you want to? You know how to play piano, right? And I was like, I took piano lessons when I was a kid, and I'm not very good. And he's like, but I think I had bought, for some reason, I had some disposable income in my mid-20s, which fucking I wish I had that now.
It'd go to wrestling t-shirts.
It really would. But I had bought this used like Roland synth because I was like, I saw it. I don't even remember who the hell I bought it off of, but there was somebody who was selling it cheap. And I was like, oh, this would be cool to fuck around with. So I bought that, and then somebody was like, I saw an ad on Craigslist for this like digital Hammond B2. They're actually not called, I think it's like the C2 or something, but it's a totally digital Hammond organ.
Okay.
And you can actually hook it up to the I'm totally blanking on what the amps are called.
The rotary speakers? No.
Yeah. The big rotary speaker that the real Hammonds have. You can actually hook it up to that. So,
okay.
It's and it was pretty awesome. You could do everything a Hammond did. So it's like, oh, I clearly need one of these. Like, so I would like, I literally stand around in the kitchen and be like, like I'm a noise musician. I hate A, noise shit, and B, I'm not a musician. So he was like, hey, like, so do you want to? You can play some keyboards. I was like, no, I can't. He's like, look, I'm going to tell you, I will write everything out. And he's like, all of the stuff is going to literally be like, one finger, two fingers, switch. Like, it's going to be simple. I just need a bed, and I don't know anybody else that really plays that I wouldn't have to pay a lot of money. Like we could find session guys. Like he played solo a couple times, and like we had like a pedal steel guy, which is awesome. But like to get a pedal steel guy, like, those guys want money. It's like, oh, hey, I do this really fucking unique thing. Yeah. So yeah, I was playing with him, and it was funny because like you're saying like making a sound guy's life easier. We played TT the Bears a few times, and the final time we ended up playing there, the sound guy had come up to us and he was like, I was so happy when I looked at the schedule tonight to see you guys were playing. And we're like, oh, cool. Why is that? And he's like, because every time you guys come in, you get more and more stripped down and quieter. And it's so nice to mix you guys. Because we went from being like a rock band with an organ to like being like the organ, an acoustic guitar, electric bass, and it wasn't even like a drum kit at that point. I think like my friend Josh was playing like almost a cocktail kit, like, shaker cocktail kit kind of situation. And there'd maybe be electric guitar like once in a while. So we were so stripped down and quiet by the end. And the sound guy was like, oh man, I love you guys. I wish you played here all the time.
We were trying, when we were with our band, we were trying to go bigger and bigger. Like it got to the point where like the bassist had the refrigerator cab, the Ampeg.
Oh, the 8x10?
8x10?
Yeah, that's your standard
8x10.
rocker.
For some reason I was thinking 8x12, but I don't know.
Yeah, 8x10. It's 8x4 and 8x10.
Yeah.
And
so it was the big fridge one, and then like my guitarist had two cabs and two amps running one guitar. He just wanted to be loud.
Which for the record, no one needs to do. When you're playing in small clubs, I remember I don't know if I should, like, I don't want to blow up anybody's spot, but like I had a meeting with this really well-known producer who's done like platinum records, like done records for like Radiohead, like a big producer. And I mean, when I said we had a meeting, like it was like a dinner meeting, like we were hanging out having drinks, like with the band that I was managing, that he was going to work with. And he kind of went off on one of his like tangents about like the amplification you need in a venue and like how sound guys and like, they're all frustrated recording engineers and you can't trust them. And like, you don't need like, you need a mic on the kick drum, a mic on the snare, a mic on the cymbals. And like, that should be it. And like dudes that are bringing in like two fucking 4x12 guitar cabs at TT the Bears, which was like a 250 cap room in Boston. Like, that's bullshit. Like, like at one point when I was doing one of the label, when I was like running Stillborn. So when I moved out here in 2000, how did I move out here? The end of 2006, 2007, I was friends with Jamie Josta from Hatebreed from Northeast. I managed Blood for Blood. They played with Hatebreed all the time. They were on Victory. He and I had become acquaintances, like friendly.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, I hear in California and Righteous Gems broke up. What are you doing? So part of the reason I had moved out here was I was managing a band, Righteous Gems, who were signed to Abacus, which was one of the Century Media spinoff labels. And they were sort of like my biggest band that were about to go for it and like, got a good budget, turned in a pretty decent record, had plans. And then with most things in at least my life, it just completely fucking fell apart. Like the band went on the first tour on the new record and we're like, can't do this anymore. So he was like, hey, what are you doing? Like I've got I could use some help managing this band. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then it was like, hey, you want to help me manage this? And it was like, yeah, cool. And then, hey, I want to bring back Martyr and Stillborn and bring back Hateware. And I'm going to manage this hip hop guy. And all of a sudden I was like doing like 35 things that like Jossa just kind of wanted to do. So I was sort of handling a lot of Jossa's business that wasn't Hatebreed. Like Jossa has like a real manager that does like Hatebreed and Kingdom of Sorrow and all of Jossa's bands.
Yeah.
But Jossa has all these other side things all the time. Like he's like the ultimate hustler. And I don't mean that in like shitty hustler way. Like
no. Like
he's a
busting
grinder.
his ass.
He's a grinder. That dude is always like, he's probably right now on like sitting at home, like buying Bitcoin or some shit.
Editing a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy, dude. He's got that Josta show is a legit fucking podcast. So that's like he has to put work into that. That's time spent at home, and it's crazy. I feel that like I find myself now that I'm 36, and I know you're older than I am, but like now I'm starting to feel like it's never enough work. Like I'm never doing enough work. I don't know, and I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if people are feeling this way as well, because I know there's like a consensus vibe, like. Everybody's freaking out because Donald Trump's the president.
Mm-hmm.
All of these, sexual allegations coming forward. Like the world is in a vibe right now and kind of feeling all the same and also divided in a weird oxymoronic way. Like everybody knows that we're fucked and everybody has their opinions about it. So
yeah,
it's one of those things, dude. I don't even know where my point was. I think you were talking about just like,
we moved off onto just grinding.
Yeah, grinding. Like, there we
hustling.
Go. Yeah, sorry. Josta is a hustler.
And so still like we basically relaunched Stillborn. There were no existing Stillborn bands. Like he was like, hey, I want to sign That Will Be Done. Do you know you've probably run across him at some point. They've been around a long time. Jay Costa sings like
That Will Be Done.
Yeah.
I've run into
so
them,
we put out one of their. I think we put out 2 of the records while I was there. And a handful of other bands, and like this is what I want to do. Okay, cool. Learn how to run a label. Like, all right, well, let's figure.
I'll Google it.
Let's figure this out. But one of the bands was, like we needed, like it was a really young band, and they were like, oh, we need gear. Like, can you get us an endorsement? And like anytime, a lot of people don't realize. Like a lot of bands like don't want managers. Oh, we don't need a manager. Okay, cool. Not every band does. And then there's also like the modern thing with like a lot of bands that are like, oh, we don't need a label. We're just going to self-release stuff. And like, we'll be successful because like we can do that. And it's like, no, you can't. It's not going to work for you. It's such a random occurrence that it actually works. But labels end up almost sort of managing some bands when they don't have managers because they don't have any, like they call you like, hey, anybody can get us a string endorsement? It's like, man, like
I guess I'll go to NAMM and talk to some people for you.
Yeah, and that's why the label people are always at NAMM.
Yeah.
Because you need those things. Like when this new band's like, hey, just signed a Prosthetic, like you know anybody at Ampeg?
Yeah.
So
I need some Silgen cymbals.
Yeah, like of course you need Gibson. Like you wouldn't just be happy with like,
it's essential for my tone, man.
Jesus help me. But yeah. So yeah, this one band that were like I hooked them up with somebody at Ampeg. And they were like, okay, cool, this is what we need. And the kid wanted 2 8x10 Ampeg cabs. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, well, it'll look cool because we'll have one on each side of the drum kit. And I was like, you're playing VFWs. You need a 4x10. Like, that's the most you need. Like, having toured with other bands, like real bands that were like, playing good sized rooms and having like guys older than me that were actual players say like, you don't really need that 8x10 until like you're in like those 1,000+ cap rooms and you're doing outdoor festivals. And that's when you're like, oh, this is great because I can hear everything. It sounds good. But like if you're playing,
Churchill's
or the Echo, you don't need an 8x10.
Well, here's the thing. You do if your style of music calls for it. So like Sumac. They need that boom in there. They want your chest to vibrate.
Okay.
Like that's part of the experience for them. You know what I mean? So
that was not this band was not that well thought out.
Or like Torch, for example. Like Torch used to love packing as many cabs as they could fit on the Churchill stage. It was like a 6-tack at one point. And I just remember standing there, it's just like
Well, like Jucifer used to do that. I don't know if they still do, but because it was the two piece, it was the husband and wife.
Oh yeah.
And like they would bring in they would just have a wall of cabs. I remember one time in Boston, I booked a show it was Doom Riders, Coliseum, Saviors, Titan, and there was a fifth band. I want to say it was Breathe or Resist. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Breathe or Resist. It was Young Widows. It was after Breathe or Resist had kind of become Young Widows. And I walked into the venue, and it was at Great Scott in Boston, which is again like a 250, 300 cab club, and like the manager bartender was like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, What are you gonna do with all this gear?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And like I kind of rounded the corner and was like, "Oh my God." Like, I'm like, what are we gonna do with all this shit? And it ended up working, but there was like, I mean, it's not a big stage, but there was like cabs everywhere.
That's fantastic. I mean, if it benefits your sound, I'm okay with you doing some crazy, stupid shit.
Yeah, but if
long as you have to have a crew with you,
or get your shit off out of the club.
Yeah,
right
like,
away.
if you got your shit together, then you can show up with whatever you want. Just make sure you're in and out. You know,
yeah,
you're not making trouble.
But note, chances are, if you were a starting local band, you probably don't need an 8x10.
No.
Probably not.
No.
Because like again, you're not as well thought out as Aaron Turner in like Sumac.
Right. Yeah, you know that's a very meticulous rig setup that he's got going.
Yeah. Like this is not that.
I think Brian, my guitarist, calls him the heaviest vegan alive.
Fair.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, dude, we started talking about a punishment thing, trying to help people. I really do want to help some of these younger bands, like, and also kind of realize that maybe you're not cut out for it either. You know what I mean? Not everybody needs to be in a band.
No.
You know, you got to know what you're doing. You got to sift through some of the quality and quality assurance, if you will, you know, because, yeah, like even us playing local shows in Florida, there was just so many bands, and they would beg us, and they were super nice guys. And it's like, all right, we'll put you on a show, and then just stink up the joint. You know what I mean? And take 40 extra minutes to set up your bullshit, and then come be a fucking jackass, and then leave when the other bands are playing too. Like that's beautiful. Like, where are you going?
Oh yeah. Well, and one of the downsides of technology improving, you know, like on one hand, you don't need to spend $25,000 to make a good sounding record anymore, but
yeah, that's true.
But that also has opened up the door to like, oh, anybody can record in their garage with, you know, Pro Tools or some sort of not even Pro Tools, you know?
Yeah. And then you get the super genius kids that like figure out how to just program music and make it sound really good. And they're not even playing an instrument. They're just programming it via MIDI on their computer.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they go and they try to start a band. They realize, oh, I can't play this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I've seen that, dude. I've seen crash and burn. Like the band starts and immediately like shit. It's like the fucking, you know, the comedies that like shit starts falling from the wall for no reason, just like slapstick comedy. They're just like, oh, the mic, there goes the mic stand, and then the guitar says feedback on the thing, and it's just, and then there's a sample, but you can't really hear it, and then they try to put it up, and it just blows the speaker. Like, yeah, guys, get off the stage, dude. Like, you're done. You should have had a couple garage shows first.
Yeah, when you think you're ready to play out, keep practicing for another year.
Yeah, take another year, and you know what you do? You start inviting friends to your band practice. Do that. Have people there so that you can see other people's faces cringe to your shit, so you can change it or fix it or whatever.
Although if you spend a year having people come out to see you practice in your garage, no one's going to come out to your like second show. Because let's be honest, most bands, like your first couple of shows, it's only your friends.
For sure. Well, usually the first show is good. Everybody turns out, let's support our boy on his first adventure. But the second show, like you said, nobody will be there.
Yeah.
No one will be there.
Especially if you've been like inviting people over for a year and you're like through your garage and you're not any good.
No, you're playing again, but we just saw you last week. Oh, yeah. You could burn out. Like we burned out just playing every weekend. And I remember at one point just the crowds dwindling down, you know, to like, oh, we're playing in front of nobody. Like this isn't even worth it. This is band practice. We should have just stayed at band practice for this, you know? But it's so funny, near the end when we broke up, that's when like things started happening for the band, like playing bigger shows, like and I know it, like our music style didn't really fit, but they asked us to open up for Static X, and I was like, yeah, of course we do that. Like, there's not even a question whether you like that band or not.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing that show. I personally enjoyed them because I remember watching them at that same stage that we played. It was Revolution Live in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And it was them and Powerman 5000. But I used to go to every single show.
The Sweet Hair Tour?
Yeah. Sweet hair. Spiky hair, bro. But I remember watching Static X on that stage and not knowing who they were and just being like, fuck, this is kind of heavy, kind of fun. Like, it's just kind of silly, but heavy. You know what I mean? Like, I found it enjoyable. And then we got to open up for them at the same exact fucking stage that I had that experience at. And then he died like 2 weeks later. Fucking cocaine or whatever. Oh, great. There goes that. But yeah, like, as shit started, like, we opened for Soulfly, and, you know, we had a few big shows. Like, we opened up for Thrice and Animals as Leaders. Like,
oh, I remember that tour.
And, you know, then we're like, all right, everybody's moving away. Like, fuck, right? When we were, like, doing things. Like, that's one thing that bands need to understand. You need to tour forever, basically. That you need to be able to give up your life to be on the road. If you really want to be in a band, this isn't fucking MTV days anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you got to be able to hit the road for at least a year and a half nonstop.
Yeah, I've said this to the bands I work with, and, you know, it's something I picked up from another manager that I worked with that was sort of like, you know, we had a situation where one band that he and I were working on together couldn't do a tour. Like, you know, there was some reason that was valid that they couldn't do the tour, but again, it was like one of those, like, where you kind of roll your eyes, like, you really need to be home for, like, being home for, it wasn't even Thanksgiving, but it was something like that. It was like, really, that's your reason for passing up on this really good opportunity. And it was like, well, yeah, blah blah blah, and it's like, well, look, this other band X, and not the band X, but, like, we'll just referring to them as band X.
Right.
Like, yo, one of those guys has missed 2 of his sister's weddings being on tour. And that's really what, like, separates bands. Like, the band that's able to, and I'm not saying, like, when I say, like, drop everything, like, I don't mean, like, it's unrealistic to think that, like, if you get offered a US tour that starts next week, that you can drop everything. But, like, bands that are willing to put things aside and go out and make compromises and, like, go out and do things like that, those are the bands that succeed. And those are the bands that people take notice. It's when bands are like, oh, well, I'd really like to be home for Thanksgiving, or like, yeah, like, oh, like my cousin's wedding. Like, cool, I get it. Like, I actually don't get it, because I'm not close to any of my family. I'm an only child, so, like, I have no family really attachments whatsoever. Like, I have some family that I like, but I mean, other than that, like, I'm, you know, so it's like, to me, like, okay, cool, you know, hey, you're gonna pass up on this opportunity because you need to do, this guy in your band needs to be home to do X and Y. And, you know, or you're just going to be not in the mix for the opportunities to do this. And like, that's when people start to take notice. Cause like, once you get offered a couple of things and you start passing them up, like, agents take notice, managers take notice. Like, I know when bands are like, you know, like, if an agent comes to me and goes, hey, this band wants to support Ringworm. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? They bailed on a Black Tusk tour. And, you know, I offered them the last Ringworm tour, and, like, it was a real fucking half-ass reason that they didn't want to do it. So, yeah, kind of rather put this band on, because these guys are hustling. And
yeah, dude, look, that's, young bands have no play in that. Like, you can't be doing that shit, man. You're a young band, and if you
not even young bands, but even like smaller bands.
Well, yeah, like smaller bands that haven't made it, that are working on making a bigger statement. You know, not saying making it or whatever. Just trying to make your shit happen. You can't be pulling this shit. Like, that's stuff for bands that have been doing it that are successful. Like, that's hey, I'm not doing that tour.
Yes,
I don't need
Slayer can 100% say we want to be home from October 24th through January, because we want to be home for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's. Like, we want to be home for all of it.
Yeah.
Slayer can do that. Metallica can do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, big ass band.
Cannibal Corpse can do that.
Yeah, but if you're still trying to make your shit happen, you take every fucking opportunity that's offered.
Yeah, and then like bands come back and go, well, how come we didn't get this? Like, how come this didn't happen? And it's like, well, you haven't been working. Like, you're not. And like, we're kind of reaching a time, with like the way festivals have boomed here in the U.S. and like we're kind of getting into a point where like sometimes the bands that don't play a lot are getting those opportunities. Like Integrity, they don't tour here. Mm-hmm. They don't even really tour anywhere. They just play festivals, really, for the most part. They do one-offs and stuff, but they sort of are in that position where they're a legendary band and they don't really have to, like, in their circles. Like, I don't think Integrity ever expect that they're going to get a Metallica tour offer or anything. Like, they know that, like, Maryland Death Fest, like, any of the Death Fest spinoffs, because I actually just read in the elevator on the way up here that he just announced Montreal Death Fest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, like, like Ryan is going to probably invite Integrity to play one of his, he's got like 4 or 5 of them now.
Yeah.
He's going to invite Integrity to play one of those every couple of years, if not one every year, Like, they're in that position to do that, but not every band is. Yeah. Euro bands, like, can do that because, like, they don't come over very often, so you can be like, oh, it's a one-time, it's like a one-off with Taka, or, or, like, Watain are going to do record, even though Watain actually do tour here a lot, but it was the first one that popped in my head. Like, or Emperor would be a better example. Like, Emperor are going to come over and do Maryland Death Fest, and they're going to play record X in its entirety. Like, okay, cool, you can get away with that. A lot of bands, most bands can't. You got to be on the road. You have to be working. You have to take opportunities when, when like Tim Bohr from United Talent or Nick Storch like offers you a tour. Like, these are bigger agents within the metal sphere for people who aren't total.
I know Nick Storch from somewhere. I know we're friends on social media. I know him from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Great agent. Like, he books Ghost, Watain.
He might have been involved with Dillinger at some point. I don't remember.
Maybe. Not that I remember, but it's also not impossible to think that. But like, I feel like Dillinger have had several agents that I can think of.
Yeah, they've been through a few labels.
Labels, agents, everything. Dillinger is sort of the example of like of the shopping cart rolling down the street with like no brakes, like shit's flying out of it, like literally, like, musically and like as a band, like
the intro to Jackass 2 or 1 or whatever it was.
I have not seen any Jackass movie, thank God.
I will go on record and say I love those movies.
Of course,
I love seeing people hurt themselves. That's why I like wrestling.
Fair enough.
Even if it's pretend hurting.
Yeah.
Or whatever that means.
When it is pretend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if one of those people make you an offer, you've kind of got to take it.
Yeah, dude. Eat every opportunity that's given to you. Bust your fucking ass and play every show like it's your last fucking show ever. Because you never know who the fuck's in the audience. There may be 2 people there, but one of those people might be a label dude or an agent of some kind, or might know someone who's an agent or whatever.
I mean, I've seen, like, I'm a prick. I don't like anything. I'm cranky. I don't go out a ton, but like there's definitely bands that I've seen even in the past year or so that I've like legitimately liked and like have watched bands that I don't have anything to do with at all. But like bands I've gone out and seen and been like, hey, if I have an opportunity, like made a mental note, like, hey, if I have an opportunity to put these guys on a tour, I'm going to, because they're nice, they hustle, like they're professional, like they're really good. Like he whose ox is gored is one of those bands. Like, I don't know that I've seen them in the past, let's say the past year and a half. I've seen them a couple of times, and like, say I had a couple of friends that worked with them, and like I've gone out to see them, and they're a fucking great band. And I don't necessarily have anything that like they make a ton of sense on, but like they're in the back of my head where like if there's an opportunity, or if somebody comes to me and says, if
I need a band.
Yeah, if like if Baroness's management, because Metallica, who they share management with Metallica, so when Metallica's management calls me and says, hey, who should go out and support Baroness, because that happens all the time,
right?
Like they'd be a band that I'd be like, yeah, you should totally consider Hughes Ox's Gourd. Like they're cool, they'd work well together. Yeah, like it's a cool vibe.
Right. Well, that's cool, man.
Would they work with 1349? Probably not.
Probably not.
Maybe not. You should check them out if you
guys
haven't.
Have makeup?
No. Do you sacrifice anything? Is there blood?
Do you have gauntlets?
No gauntlets.
Shit.
Yeah.
No corpse paint, no gauntlets, no sacrificials, lambs.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work, Mark.
It's not gonna work, dude. Who would you? What would be like the tour for 1349 that you would want to book?
You mean like if I had the opportunity to do anything with them?
Yeah.
I mean, I would, obviously, like they would. I would love to do like a Slayer tour.
You think that works with the Slayer audience?
Who knows? But like, it's a Slayer tour. It's like one of those things. Like, it's like
Yeah.
There comes a level of opening for bands where like you're not really doing it as much to open for the band as much. You're not doing it as much to play for their audience as much as it is to put on your resume.
Oh, right.
We toured with Slayer.
Say,
We toured
hey,
with
I toured
Iron
Slayer.
Maiden.
Yeah, that's true.
No one gives a shit about who opens for Iron Maiden. Christ.
I remember going to a Metallica show, and it was Kid Rock, Seven Dust, and Creed opening.
That's got to be like
Metallica.
load reload era, right?
Maybe, yeah. Probably Reload. Yeah, definitely Fuel was a thing. I remember that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Actually, oddly, the first time I saw Metallica, I worked production as a production runner it was the first day of the first Summer Sanitarium tour, which was 2000. It was June 30th, 2000. It wasn't even the new stadium where the Patriots play. I think it was the old Sullivan Stadium, which was like adjacent to, I guess it was Foxborough Stadium at the time, which was adjacent to Gillette, where the Patriots play now. And I remember this specifically because it was my mom's birthday. My car got totaled while I was out on one of the runs. A guy ran a red light and fucking T-boned me in an intersection. Fuck. That was the first time I ever saw Metallica. Because like I had been listening to Metallica since Puppets was out. Like I remember Justice coming out was like the first Metallica record I remember. Like, oh, this is coming out next week. Like being cognitive of
releases.
And then I bought the Black Album. I think out here when I was on vacation with my parents, and I was 91.
Sounds about right.
And then, but I never got to see them because, like on the Black Album cycle, like I couldn't drive, and and it was one of those shows like I couldn't get, like there was no possible way my dad was going to take me. Most of my friends, like I had been to at that point, like I had been to like see the Scorpions and Rush, and the Ramones. Scorpions and Rush were with like one group of friends, and the Ramones were with like another group. But like the other girl, the people I went to the Ramones with were actually like two girls I was friends with. So like their moms took us, and that, which was super awesome and very cool of them, and like very horrifying at 14 to be at a Ramones show at like an amusement park in Rhode Island. And then the other shows, like those other dudes were kind of more hard rock guys. Like Metallica was like a little too much for them.
Yeah.
So like no one wanted to go see Metallica with me. I remember my dad even offered to pay like one of his friend's sons, who was probably, 10 years older than me at the time, to take me. He was like, I'll pay for you to go take him to see Metallica. And he was like, that's not my vibe, dude.
Not happening.
Like he was like I remember like being a kid, like he was really into U2 at that time, and like REM and stuff like that.
Oh boy.
Like the pre-alternative rock. So yeah, he had
everybody hurts.
he wanted nothing to do with Metallica. Yeah, and then by the time I was driving, I was into punk rock and going to see like Sick of It All and Into Another and shit like that. So it was like kind of like fuck Metallica, like fuck that arena rock shit. So by 2000, I was like working the shows. I was like, oh, I should go watch this band that I've been listening to since I was fucking 10 years old.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
And I don't even know. Oh, but yeah, it was the Summer Sanitarium tour. So it was Korn, Kid Rock,
Stained probably.
I think they may have been on the second one.
Mudvayne or
Static X, Power Man. Power Man, System of a Down, I think.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was wacky.
I remember seeing System of a Down with Mars Volta. That was a weird show.
That makes total sense, though. It's super
does?
weird, but it makes sense.
I don't know, man. Mars Volta to me is a completely different vibe than System of a Down. Like to me, Mars Volta is more like do acid and like mushrooms, and System of a Down is more like let me get drunk and mosh.
See, but I think System view themselves as being way more progressive. I think System view themselves much closer to Tool than they do Korn.
Really?
Yeah, I think they as a band view themselves. I don't necessarily think that that's the case, but like musically, like they're definitely a little more progressive. They've got weird stuff.
They do have weird stuff.
Like they're not a normal band.
They're not normal. Yeah, you can't really fit them in anything. They're not new metal. I mean, they have new metal aspects.
For sure. Like there's a little Korn in there, but there's also some Dead Kennedys in there, and there's some Tool in there, and there's
some crazy Middle Eastern shit in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So like they've got a lot of stuff going. So but that's what I'm saying. Like I've gotten the impression over the years that like System really think of themselves as a higher brow band than necessarily most people do.
I'm just gonna go ahead and agree to disagree with Mr. Serge Tankian, however you say his name. Tankian. You guys are kind of goofy. Just gonna put it out there. You have a song that the first couple lyrics are banana, 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 terracotta pie. It's a little silly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to address that specifically.
I will point out, I fucking love that song. Okay, I fucking love it. I'll put it on every once in a while just because it's hilarious. But I think they know it's hilarious. Are you right? They wrote a comedy song.
Well, like, I mean, like, look, I mean, Primus are kind of like that too.
Oh yeah, Primus is super silly.
But Primus also, I think of themselves as, they probably don't take themselves as seriously as System of a Down, but Primus probably think of themselves as fairly a prog rock.
Oh yeah,
jam
it's
band,
artsy.
Like, yeah, it's very artsy.
Yeah.
Even though it's like when I was Big Brown Beaver, bleep, 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 like fucking Jerry was a race car driver.
Yeah, but then they'll do a whole set of Willy Wonka's soundtrack, and then and then another second set that night of all their greatest hits.
Right. I mean, like in a lot of ways. I mean, I know that they actually. I mean, I know that they've collaborated, but like Primus are a lot like Fish. Like Fish are super good musicians. Like, I mean, they've been around forever. I mean, they're the
quintessential jam band.
Yeah, I mean, they picked up where the Grateful Dead left off. But I mean, they do like, I mean, dude fucking plays a vacuum cleaner on stage for some shit. And like, I mean, they do shows where like they come out and do like the White Album from beginning to end. You know, like
the Beatles' White Album?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they do it. And they like, it's like they do it well. It's not like some fucking jack-offs.
Cool.
Like
That's
the White Album is not an album to fuck with.
No.
And they don't fuck with it. They do it. And it's
they
like,
do it right.
Not that I've ever seen Fish. Although I did own the one album that was out when I was in high school. It was really good.
Well, I feel like it's either you've never seen Fish or you've seen them 75 times.
I saw the Grateful Dead once.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
really
enough to put it on the list where like, all right, we're old enough and like mature enough now and like to be like, yeah, I saw the Grateful Dead once. It was like probably one of the last times they played Boston, which was like pretty legendary. Like they would always do like the Boston Garden was a big thing for them.
What year did he die? Like when did it stop for a
95.
95?
Yeah, when did he die? When they broke up before they reunited 13 times as different fucking incarnations of the same.
He needed to die in order for the band to stop. I think that's what happened. And
he had to die for the band. He was the Obi-Wan Kenobi. He laid himself down for he sacrificed himself for the fucking power of the Jam Force.
To give way to Fish.
Yeah. Strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can ever imagine. See,
even Fish is it's like a lightsaber sound.
God, we're not even actually drunk either. That's what's really weird here.
I smoked a little bit, so
okay, so you're a little Sonny Baloney.
Yeah, a little bit, but anyway, let's see.
But so Metallica with those bands. I don't even know why we got to Metallica.
Well, we were talking. I guess we were just progressively getting into older and older music, and like, I think you were talking about some of your first concerts. So like, my first concert I think was like Huey Lewis in the News.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
I still have not.
I saw him in Vegas with my dad.
That's cool. Huey Lewis is. I would not put him on like a bucket list for me, but.
He's still performing, man.
Oh yeah, no. I know he does. I would really like to. He's one of the few people I would like to see. Like, Petty was a bucket list guy for me, and I actually had the opportunity to go to one of the Hollywood Bowl shows, like the week before he died, and I did like somebody offered it. I don't even remember. I'm trying to even think of what the circumstances were, but somebody offered Sarah and I tickets for one of the shows, and we had plans. Like my girlfriend had family in town, and it was like, oh, we already have dinner plans. Families are only in town. Like, bummed we can't go. But it's like Petty. He tours a lot.
Yeah.
And like he had, I mean, he was doing 3 or 4 nights at the Bowl, and he had just headlined that festival, the Arroyo Seco Festival, out by the Rose Bowl like a month before. And like Petty tours a lot, and it was like, all right, yeah, Petty's in good health. Like,
You have to be in order to tour that much.
Yeah, and then the motherfucker dies a week later. Like, where does he get off?
I didn't get my chance.
Yeah, that sucks. and now I can't turn on the goddamn radio without hearing fucking Running Down a Dream or American Girl. And it's driving me crazy. Because it's one of the CDs I've had in my car. Like, I don't really listen to a ton of music in the car.
Yeah.
But I have like a 5-disc changer. And Tom Petty's greatest hit, like the first Danzig, Foo Fighters' Color in the Shape, Tom Petty's greatest hits, and Misfits like Collection 1. These are all discs that I had like random extra copies of or didn't have a case for or some shit. And I was like, I'll throw them in my disc changer. These are good anytime. So now you're actually... Petty's death is killing one of my driving CDs because it's like always on the radio.
Yeah, that sucks. I hate when they do that.
Die? Know? I do too.
Yeah, I hate when musicians die. Can you guys stop doing that? Like when we lost... I'm not that guy that like attaches himself to people like that. But like when Bowie died, I heard the news, I woke up, I told Ariel, I was like, oh, that sucks, I think whatever, I'm gonna go to work. And I'm driving to work and I put on the radio and they start playing fucking, ground control to Major Tom. I had to pull over because I was crying.
Get emotional.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was never a huge Bowie fan. Like people have always like kind of given me shit about that. Like Bowie. Like I don't dislike Bowie at all, but he's never been somebody I've really attached to. He's got some great songs. I mean, I own like a couple of his greatest hits albums.
Yeah.
Dude's got fucking 15 greatest hits albums.
But that's the thing. You're a little older. Like for me, I grew up dancing to like as a kid, like a fucking 5-year-old, just jumping around and dancing to that not fame. What's it? It's like dancey song that he's got. That it's like the most popular.
Not
one.
Dancing in the Streets. No. With Mick Jagger.
Something about dancing with his blue jazz shoes or whatever. I forget what it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh God damn it.
It is fame, isn't it?
That might be fame.
Yeah, it might be fame. I don't know.
I mean, dude, but you're saying I'm older than you. Bowie was around for like 70 years.
Yeah.
He was. Trust me, I remember Bowie as I remember the Dancing in the Streets video, the cover he did with Mick Jagger, like that.
Oh yeah,
I remember that debuted. Like I remember watching it with my parents, and it was like a big deal because it was like debuting like during a football game, or it was like. It was like, right before Different Strokes on NBC on a Saturday night. Like, yeah, it was something weird like that.
Okay.
Which, by the way, so I listen to this talk show out here pretty much every day. Petros and Money. It's like the sports channel, but the guys, it's like Eddie and I doing a sports show. Like the guys know sports, but it like goes completely off the rails most of the time.
That's good.
It's hilarious. It's one of my favorite things. And they were actually just talking about the Dancing in the Streets cover. And just the video.
Oh yeah. Well, you saw the video with no music?
No.
Dude, you need to see that. So they have the video without the music playing, and then there's people that like dub some sounds over it just so that there's more sound. So like you hear scuffling of shoes and like super awkward, like Mick Jagger going like moving around and shit. It's the most awkward thing, and it ruins the whole thing.
Well, the whole video is basically. And then this is sort of what they were saying the other night. Is like the video is basically is like 2.5, 3 minutes of them being like, "Why are we even on the set? Why can't we just go get in bed together?"
Pretty much. Yeah. Those two dudes, very androgynous. Like at least Bowie for sure, but like nobody. He was in a time where it didn't matter, I guess, and nobody ever questioned. Like, is he straight? Is he gay? Who cares? He's bi. He's omnisexual. He's
it's
space.
It's weird to me because I never considered him. Yeah, like you said, I never really. I mean, like it obviously doesn't fucking matter.
No, it doesn't. But it was like ambiguity that.
Yeah, like I think he came out. No pun intended. He hit the scene at a time where, I guess being a gay musician probably would have gone against him. I mean, fucking Little Richard.
Yeah.
Like wasn't gay.
Yeah. Right.
Like, come on. But like so Bowie came out in a time where like. He shouldn't have been gay, and probably, I mean, I'm sure they never were like, hey, he's a gay dude.
Yeah, no.
But like, I mean, it was pretty obvious that Bowie was at least bisexual. I mean, he had noted relationships with at least Iggy Pop, and I'm pretty sure with Jagger. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's actually noted somewhere.
Yeah, probably. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, but he was married to Amon.
Yeah. Well, it could be one of those things too. Like, did you ever watch Beyond the Mat? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Okay. So when that fucking Room interview with Jake the Snake Roberts, and he's talking about like, well, it's a girl every night, and it's 2 girls every night, then it's 3 girls every night, 3 girls with toys, and then so it's like, I've never been in that perspective, like where regular sex is not interesting anymore. So I'm going to start banging dudes because fuck it, right? I mean, that's what that's what it seems like. It's like I'll do whatever at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got the impression more with Bowie over the years that like Bowie was like a gay dude that.
But he's had women, I'm sure.
Yeah,
like
well, I mean, he was married to Iman. I mean, like, so I mean, I don't think that was like a Hollywood marriage per se, because I don't know that they like.
No, yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, granted, it was probably 30 years ago at this point.
Wasn't that long ago? 30 years ago.
Yeah. I just remember, because I remember finding out who Iman was, because she was in one of the later Star Trek movies, like the original cast Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who Iman was. My dad was like, oh, she's like a really famous actress. And either she had recently married Bowie or, was married to David Bowie. And like, I knew who David Bowie was.
But it's whether it was a Hollywood marriage, like arranged or whatever, it definitely happened because of their fame. You know what I mean? Like, hey.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like, but yeah, I mean, regardless, like, yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, Bowie was definitely like, I mean, because I read something. It may have been in one of the obits that somebody wrote about him when he died, but like somebody like sort of mentioned like the phenomena that was like the fact that he was like this like ginger gay British guy who like
looks like he came from outer space.
Yeah, like really had no business becoming the fucking icon he became.
Yeah.
Like on paper, like no,
right,
obviously,
right.
like that doesn't matter. But like coming out in the late '60s and being, like you said, like an alien-looking redhead gay dude from the UK, like that shouldn't have worked.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean,
neither
should have Star Wars.
Well,
and it did.
Yeah, and I mean, Bowie's somebody who, like, I mean, he crossed like so many genres and boundaries, and like.
He definitely has a lot of music. Like, I love Bowie, but I am sure I haven't heard all his music.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say I'm gonna say nobody has, but I have one friend in particular who I bet if he was listening to this, would be like texting me like, "You motherfucker, I have all the albums."
1979, track number 2.
Yeah. I mean, but like he did stuff with Eno. He did stuff with apparently like I just saw some news clip that popped up somewhere that like one of the dudes from Devo said that there are demos of Devo, Brian Eno, and Bowie together. You know what I mean? Like, and then he did that band Tin Machine, which I don't know if you remember or have revisited.
I haven't revisited, no.
So he basically, it wasn't a metal band, but he definitely had like a hard rock band in the late 80s.
Tin Machine.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. I'm going to look it up.
Look it up because
I might like it.
Harley Flanagan is slam dancing in the video because the video involves like dudes moshing.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm not even moshing, dudes slam dancing. It's like, we're talking 80s here.
Right.
None of that Pearl Jam moshing shit.
Yeah, shoving each other with your hands.
Yeah, this is like, there's some slam dancing, and I believe Harley Flanagan is one of the extra slam dancers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Bowie did everything. I'm like one of their actually to tie in with Bowie, Freddie Mercury, every time I listen to Queen, and this is like for a decade, 15 years, like my adult life, like anytime I listen to Queen, like I don't just listen to a Queen song, like you kind of listen to like Queen, like a record, like all their songs or whatever, because like that's like one thing I really regret that I didn't get to experience. Like, I remember Queen when I was a kid, and then I remember him dying when I was like I think a freshman or sophomore in high school. But just the like the diversity of music they made, and like how weird it would be, or how I would react as a fan of that band at the time to listen to be like, oh, this band I like, and for them to have like a funk song and like a rockabilly like Elvis worship song and something that bordered on heavy metal and like an opera, like a literal fucking like operatic piece.
Yeah.
You know, like for a band who have done that, and like I wish I had been around to have like experienced that. Like, holy shit, these guys are all over the place. I would see how other people reacted to it.
I would like to see the other, like, how well did they do during their experimental eras?
Well, they didn't even have an experimental era. I mean, it was like their whole career was like
Well, like look at King Crimson, for example. Like that band started as one thing and it just evolved into something else completely.
Right, but Queen didn't evolve into a different thing. Like Queen was just like
all over the place all the time.
Yeah, like you know, like they would have. I mean, it maybe changed a little bit from record to record, but they would just like they don't have a whole record or a whole era of Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
Right. It's not like the Beatles.
Yeah, I mean, like also like the Beatles. Like there's a band that was like around for 5 years.
Yeah, and they did everything different. Like you know,
I mean, the Beatles are. I am not a mega Beatles fan. I'm not like that guy, but I will argue that the Beatles are the most important rock band of all time and completely fucking changed everything. The concept of the album exists because of the Beatles. There's multiple recording techniques that come out of the Beatles recording. Yeah. So even if it was it George Martin? Yeah, George Martin, who's their producer. Even if it was Martin who did it, like that came from the Beatles. I mean, the fact that they put out so much music, like they were literally around for, I mean, was it 5 years?
It was way more than 5 years.
Hold on, let me look this up because they're around for a shockingly short amount of time based on the amount of stuff they put out.
That's true.
And they didn't put out beater records either. Like it wasn't like they had a fucking Saint Anger in there.
No, they were all amazing, and they just kept getting different and more different and better, in my opinion, because I like proggy stuff. And I wasn't there from the beginning. Obviously, I'm not from the 50s. But, you know,
they were around from...
I had to revisit everything, you know?
Their first studio contract was 62, and they broke up in 70.
Wow,
they were around for 8 years. They were putting out multiple records a year.
They feel like they were around for 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, I mean, dude, their music is like you turn on... I mean, I think there's like a Sirius XM Beatles channel. But, like, you turn on, like... If you flip your dial on, like, in almost any city, like on a Sunday morning, somebody has like Beatles brunch here on KLOS or HJY. Like
they have so many good songs. They have a lot of really good songs.
They don't have beaters. Like there's no crap in their collection.
Yeah.
Like you might not like it. Like and look, there are Beatles songs that make me like want to stick shit in my eyes.
Predominantly from the earlier eras.
Yeah, more or less.
The happy-go-lucky like pop, like.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff that they didn't even write. Like I mean, they were like many bands, like where they were doing covers.
Yeah. 50s tunes.
Yeah, like Twist and Shout and stuff. I mean, that's not an original.
Not at all. They did come together. Sorry, I confused that for a second.
Yeah, no, Aerosmith is covered them.
God.
They went in the DeLorean. Aerosmith wrote it. The Beatles went in the DeLorean, came back,
stole it. Bastards.
You two. Charles Manson stole this one from the Beatles. We're stealing it back.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they did fucking Helter Skelter.
That's a heavy ass song.
Yeah, that's a really fucking heavy song.
That's a really
and there's
song.
Stuff on the White Album like that's just like, I mean, not like it's not like it's metal, but like there's some fucked up shit on the White Album.
Sure. Well, that's the thing. Like, I like to break down metal to like the very core of it. Sometimes, like, when I listen to some old video game music from the 8-bit era, from the NES, like, I'll listen to Contra or Castlevania and shit. Like, I listen to it, I'm like, dude, that's metal. Like, it's not metal because it's not guitars and blah, 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 but, like, just the structure of it all, you know, it just more broken down. I think that's what attracted me to metal from the beginning, or video games, I think. Because, I mean, I grew up playing video games as a kid, so, like, that was a lot of the music came from that. To me,
yeah, I don't know if I had mentioned this to you on either the other podcasts or in our text conversations or whatever. But if you have the opportunity to look up some of the '90s WWE entrance themes,
like who?
Steve Austin when he was the ringmaster. Okay. Atom Bomb. I think Dean Malenko's was one. They have a lot of these really fucking cool like dark synth intros.
Huh.
Even the Doink the Clown song is super goddamn creepy and like heavy and weird. Like,
yeah, I liked Doink the Clown, man. That was a good character for a while when I was a kid.
Was that before or after there was like the 20 mini Doinks and
before.
Okay.
The mini Doinks, I still laughed and I still watched, but I was just kind of like,
we were kids. We were like, it's a clown and little clowns.
Yeah, oh my god, tiny clowns. Yeah. That was kind of he didn't make it to the Attitude Era.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but maybe like right to the cusp of it. Shit started getting weird in WWE, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, remember that time when Goldust dressed up like Marilyn Manson? That's a thing.
You mean specifically like Manson?
Yeah, like the garter belt and the black hair and the fucking black makeup. Oh, dude.
Oh, Doink was there from 92 to 97.
He made it to the Attitude Era, I think. Because I remember playing the video game on PlayStation. It was like Raw Attitude or something, or one of those fucking weird games, and Doink was part of it. I remember that. I don't know. Wasn't there like 4 Doink the Clowns? Like they went through multiple people?
There may have been. Oh, here's a shocker. He died in 2013 of a drug overdose.
Which one, though?
Matt Osborne.
Matt Osborne. Because I seriously, I heard there was like 4 Doinks.
There may have been. Well, this listen is the first to portray.
There's also like a YouTube video I saw. It was like a conspiracy theory that there was 2 Ultimate Warriors.
Oh, God. Yeah, this is probably not the right time for that conversation.
Why?
Yeah, no, because I mean, do we want to dive into wrestling?
Well, let's talk Star Wars.
Sure. I didn't know that this is not rock and roll nor beer related.
No, okay. So we talked a whole bunch about music.
Sure.
About an hour about music.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we can go to whatever you want to do. It's your show, man.
Which is fine. And I would talk beer with you.
But I just brought over an 18-pack of Tecate.
Exactly.
And like honestly, like I'm like I'm a Pilsner lager guy. Like I'm not always into shitty beer, but I'm always into Pilsner's lager. It's like I'll go to like if I go to Angel City, I'm like, oh, when they launched like the lager, I think they had the Pilsner first and then they had the lager. I was like, oh, yeah, they have another beer I might like. Like I'm just not into like, oh, drink an IPA. Like I enjoy like an IPA or something every once in a while because it's sort of a palate cleanser. I'm like, oh, okay. And then
all right. Well, but the thing is, I met you at Phantom Carriage.
Yeah, I
thought you were a beer geek when I met you.
I'm a beer drinker.
Yes.
Alcoholic. But at least I admit that I have a problem.
Yeah.
No, I went to Phantom Carriage because
Zack invited you.
Well, yeah, Zack had told me he was going to be working, and I'd heard about that place for a couple of years, mainly because actually I think the brewer is Petros from Petros and Money, the radio show I mentioned earlier. It's his brother-in-law. Or one of the brewers is. So they've done a few remotes from Phantom Carriage. They may even do one annually from there. So I had heard that like, there's this cool, like horror themed brewery.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. And actually, I think at first, like I thought that I didn't realize they said Carson. I thought they said it was in Commerce. And I was sort of like, oh, I'm never going to fucking go to Commerce for that. Fuck that. And then I'm friends with Joel Grind from Toxic Holocaust. And he played last Halloweenish, doing his like they had like a Halloween party, and he did his like synth project.
Oh, I was there, yeah.
So I just couldn't make it out for that for whatever reason.
Okay.
Mainly because of anxiety, agoraphobia, being a weird and shut in. But yeah, I couldn't really make it to that. But like, yeah, I'd just been sort of looking for an excuse to go, and Zack was like, oh. It's the last thing of the year or whatever. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'll go. Like, I want to check the place out. Like, it looks awesome. And it's only 10 minutes from here.
Yeah, dude. I love that place. I mean, I was so happy to just be able to have them as a sponsor for the show, dude. Because I hang out there a lot, I go there. And every time I go, it's so funny because they hook it up. Like, they're really nice and everything, but I still end up dropping like $60 every time I go there. It's so insane.
Well, I mean, because like when I went in and got like a beer, like I got whatever because like they don't do lagers or pilsners, so they had like one of the guest taps. I forgot what company it was.
Yeah,
but I got that. But like when Zack was bartending outside and like I had a few of whatever they had out there, and they were like, it was good. It was really cool. I don't know that I'd really done a lot of sours before. It's not something I want to drink in. I drink in excess. Like I'm everything that's wrong with everything. So like I'm not the guy that's gonna have 1 or 2 beers. So like having a bunch of sours, like I can just imagine just like someone finding me on the sidewalk outside in like debilitating pain. Like
it would bloat you out and probably make you shit yourself.
Which is like these are problems that I have
already. Yeah. Well, that's mostly because of the booze.
Yeah,
I had the same issues. Don't worry.
Amongst other things. But.
Yeah, I mean, I poor diet. No, that's for me.
Yeah, my diet's decent. I work out. It's probably the only reason I'm not dead at this point is that I'm basically I've been vegetarian for 20 years and like almost I've been vegetarian for 19 years. Yeah, 19 years, and I live very close to a vegan lifestyle, so like that helps for sure. because otherwise I'd be
dead.
I'm a trash panda. I am a raccoon. But yeah, no, I had to give up coffee over a year ago. Like, I was having massive stomach problems, and I was like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
I'd rather shit myself to death than leave coffee.
So it got to the point where it was like, I think I'm gonna have to go to a doctor, and like Sarah was kind of helping, like walking me through stuff. And like the one consistent thing I found was like, okay, like when you go to the doctor, they're gonna make you like, cut everything out of your diet and slowly start adding stuff back in. So I did that one day. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to eat like whatever. Like I forgot what the one food was. But this is all I'm going to eat today. Oh, okay, cool. I'm not sick. I'm going to introduce this one thing back.
Right.
That one thing back. And that included no coffee, no beer, anything. And I was like, okay. And so a few days into it, I was like, oh, wow, my stomach's actually been all right. Like I'm not like feeling sick at all. And so I had I had a couple of beers and I was totally fine.
You're like, yes.
Yeah. And then I was like, it's fucking coffee.
Oh, man.
Which is a bummer because I have a coffee cup tattoo. I mean, coffee was like my love. And so I hadn't had any coffee since like last October. And Sarah and I went to something like Corgi Day in Long Beach. Like there's a Corgi Beach Day where people bring hundreds of corgis to the beach.
Just lay down and they walk all around.
I wish. No, they just run around like crazy fucking people. Oh, I'm a corgi. I'm low to the ground. So we went down to that and we were leaving and there was like somebody handing out some sort of samples of some, caffeinated, canned, cold brew coffee beverage, and I looked and I was like, oh, this one's like, okay, this looks cool. And it was vegan, it had no dairy in it. I was like, cool. I grabbed one of those and like I grabbed one for Sarah. It's like, let's walk back. I was like, I want to try this cold brew stuff the kids are talking about. And I had one and like literally 45 minutes later I was like strapped to the toilet. Like, I was like, it was coffee. I was right. I'm sorry.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it definitely makes my bowels move when I drink it.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking like, it gets you going in the morning.
No. Like I'll almost instantly have to shit after I drink a cup of coffee. Like almost immediately.
No, I mean like IBS symptoms. Like.
Oh, okay. No, mine it just pushes like my.
No, that's what coffee does. Like it gets you like, all right, got my coffee. I'm gonna take my morning poop.
Yeah.
This was like.
The vomitous.
Yeah,
bile.
and like randomly, like you're walking, like I'm walking through Target. Oh my god! Like I got sprinting, knocking over fucking moms.
It's happened occasionally, not all the time though. But I definitely do need to fix some of the things in my diet.
Yeah, I had to cut back on some of the hot sauce stuff too, which sucks because that was like another thing I really love. I love spicy food, but I had to cut like some of the and I didn't accidentally buy, like, I can do sriracha, like, and it's fine, but, like, the garlic chili paste, like, sriracha's cousin, the one that's usually next to it.
Green cap, yeah.
Yeah. The one I have, I don't think is a green cap, but yeah, it's the one that's, like, a little chunkier.
Yeah.
That stuff's awesome.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I gave up, and I was like, I bought one, I ran out of sriracha, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy one of these, see how it goes, and that's not been working well. Yeah, I'm almost done with the bottle, and then I got to go back to sriracha. I mean, at least I don't have to give that up yet. Yeah.
I have a couple things that I do to make food sort of spicy without it killing me. But then, like, some days I'll go overboard. Like the pay-per-view we did when I did the wings. Mm-hmm. That was too much for me.
Wing sauce will do it to me too. I used to buy the big containers of the Frank's wing sauce.
Oh my god!
Like from eBay because I make tofu and like barbecue tofu or barbecue chickenless fingers and stuff. And it was like that was like my jam. I was good I would read actual wing recipes to learn how to make the sauce and how to really do it properly. Like the same thing, like I do like a vegan beer brat thing. Like and I spent some time, like I was reading dudes that are like, I've been tailgating at Green Bay Packer games for 35 years, and this is how I do it. And I like started doing that shit. Nice. Like I'm soaking like my tofurkey sausages like overnight with butter or non-dairy butter and like garlic, and I'm doing like I was like following all like I would do a ton of recipes, so like I was into that shit. So like losing the wing sauce was a bum out. I love it. Like I love a barbecue, like a wing sauce, like a chicken wing.
Yeah,
I had a chicken
buffalo
wing in 20. Yeah,
like
but I
spicy,
love that taste. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. I do feel it more and more as I get older. That and yeah, like fried things for sure fuck me up. Coffee, like I said, it just does the morning thing. But yeah, I have to give up a bunch of shit. Like I gave up Taco Bell. I can't do Taco Bell.
No one should really do Taco Bell.
I used to do it all the time, and then I stopped. I was like, I can't do this.
I do Del Taco once in a while.
Yeah,
Taco Bell, I don't think I'd been to Taco Bell a few times. So when Prosthetic was in Mar Vista, there was one near us, so we'd walk over there once in a while. But when Sarah and I went out to, we went out to Joshua Tree for a wedding a couple of months back, and we were trying to figure out what to eat and where to go, and there was like this whole like fucking like circus scene of Sarah and I like
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, riding unicycles.
Yeah.
We ended up stopping at the Taco Bell by Morongo.
It's one of the few fast food places that offer totally vegan options. Like you can eat some food there.
Yeah, Taco Bell, Del Taco, Chipotle, like the Mexican ones.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no
lettuce, beans.
Yeah, there's not a lot
tomatoes
going on. But yeah, like I went into and it was like so weird because I was like I was basically my mother when I take her to any restaurant because I was like staring at the menu. Sarah was like, "What do you want?" I was like, I don't know what these things are. Like, so what is that?
What is the chimichanga?
Yeah. Well, at least I know what the real Mexican food is. But
Yeah.
like Taco Bell doesn't have real Mexican food. Like it's like
what's a quesarito?
Yeah, like a nacho Rita. Like, is that what the fuck is that? Like the Doritaco. Is that like a Dorito taco?
It's all of the same food and just different preparations.
Well, look, let's be honest. Like a lot of Mexican food is sort of like the same. Like you've got your rice, beans,
some kind of beef or
chicken or
protein.
Whatever. Yeah, your protein, and then like a cheese, and it's just sort of served in like a different
here
a tortilla wrapped up this way, a tortilla wrapped this way, a smaller tortilla this way,
a tortilla deep fried and then covered in sauce.
Oh
yeah, so good. There's this place in Homestead. It's a fucking treasure, dude. It's called Rosita's. For years, because the band used to practice in Homestead, I would have to drive down there from like Hialeah, which if you have no frame of reference, it's imagine having to drive to Bakersfield for band practice from here.
Yeah, no.
No. It was like
not even if I was in Corn when I drive up to Bakersfield for practice.
It used to take almost 2 hours for me to get to band practice. Then it was like debauchery because I'd get there and everybody's drinking, and 10 beers later, let's start playing music. And then we'll play for a good 2 hours, and then let's smoke a ton of weed and maybe take some mushrooms and then play for another 2 hours after that. And we would just jam and write shit for hours and hours and hours. But it was a 2 hour. I had to make it like that. I had to, like, if I'm driving 2 hours, I'm going to be there for the rest of the night. Like that's
fair.
That's it. I don't want to go all the way with the fuck over there for a 30-minute rehearsal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No.
No, thank you.
Your trip, like that's my rule. Your trip has to be equal to or greater than the travel time.
Yeah.
The combined travel time. So if you're going somewhere that's 2 hours away, that's a 4-hour trip. You have to be at that location for more than 4 hours, or you don't do it.
Or it's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna drive to like Vegas for a meeting, like no, I'm gonna drive to Vegas. I need to be there at least 8 hours.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm spending the night.
Probably just don't sleep. That's what happens at Vegas.
I sleep anywhere. Don't you worry about that.
My last trip to Vegas. I don't remember if I've talked about this yet, but I went to Vegas. Psycho Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Were you there?
No, I did not go last year.
Okay, so I drove out there, met up with Alex from Orange Amps.
Oh yeah.
And didn't have any plan whatsoever. Like, no hotel situation. I'm like, well, this is a weekend thing. So I'm just I'll bring a pillow and a blanket. And if I have to sleep in my car, I'll sleep in the fucking car. Thankfully, Alex offered his room for the first night. And the second night, I forget where. My second night. That's the point of the whole story. I met up with my bass player. He hits me up. He's like, yo, I'm in Vegas too, bro. And it's been like a while since we've seen each other. So we meet up. He's hanging out with a coworker of his, and the dude's like doing blow on the sidewalk with like random like strange dude, and just trying to like get laid basically the whole time. And I was just
these are things that can happen in Vegas.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, why is this guy doing this right now? So whatever. We end up hanging out for a while. End up back at his hotel room because my bass is like, yeah, you can chill with me in my room. I'm like, fuck it, I'll crash on the floor. Doesn't matter. So I lay down on the floor and I hear like woman moans and like sounds coming from the bathroom. This is like 3 a.m. in Vegas, and I'm just laying on the floor, no blanket, no nothing, just like, fuck it, I'm gonna nap here. And yeah, and then out comes a prostitute. She's like, hey, you want to play? I'm like, what? No. And I just went back to sleep. Right back to sleep. And then I started getting so grossed out because I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's got a fucking, like, you know, like he's banging in the bathroom and stuff. And, like, you know how many people have banged on this floor? It's Vegas.
Yeah.
I just got AIDS from sleeping on this floor.
You did.
Dude, it was so gross, man. It was so gross. But I have that band mentality thing, like just sleep wherever I need to sleep.
I'm all about sleeping on floors in hotels.
Yeah.
I usually like if you, like I'm one of those people that's still like, yeah, I'll crash on your floor. It's totally not a problem.
Yeah, dude. Out anywhere.
Yeah.
I just need shelter. You know, like
yeah, I need a place to sleep.
Couple doors. I'll sleep on the floor. I'm gonna feel like shit in the morning, and it's getting progressively worse as I get older. Like, oh, my hip. Oh, my back.
Yeah, I don't mind the floor because I actually have a bad back, so like the floor actually usually makes my back feel all right. Like over the years when my back's been really bad, like I'll sleep on the floor at home.
I might have to do that. It's starting to get bad. We need a new mattress. Anyway,
yeah.
So we talked about music. We were gonna, like I said, we were gonna talk about beer. We kind of derailed again because we always do.
But we talked. I mean, we did a little beer. I explained my beer thing.
You like Tecate. We talked about Phantom Carriage. Now let's talk Star Wars.
All right.
And then we'll finish at that. I've recently expressed my disdain with the movie itself, but nobody seems to get why for some reason. Like everybody's been complaining on my Facebook, like, oh, you know, sorry your little fanboy theory didn't play out. I'm like, I didn't have a fanboy theory going into this. I'm upset with just the lack of character development, the focus of the story being, and then like the most mundane thing ever, slow motion space chase throughout the entire movie. That's the timeline of the movie.
That didn't even bum me out. Like, because I didn't even think about that really until, like, I've seen that popping up, like that the whole movie was basically it was the OJ fucking chase
so
on 405.
Like, you're telling me that they're really chasing them down and shooting at them just to remind them that they're there?
I think that there were a lot of problems with the movie. I liked it. Eddie did not like it at first.
Actually, I came out thinking that was good, but I have some issues. And then as the days went by, I just started hating it more and more.
Well, I'm gonna be in LA for 2 days next week, and dog sitting for my old neighbor. And I'm gonna go to the Highland Theaters, which is the movie theater I went to for everything for the 10 years I lived in LA. Because like they have their night shows are like $7 or $8. They might even be $9 now. Their day shows are like $5.
Nice.
And like their day shows are $5 or $6, and then like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are family day where every showing is either $4 or $5.
Nice.
So that's where I would go because I like crappy movies. Like I don't like artsy films. I want to see Avengers. And I also don't need to see it in IMAX on the fucking 900-foot screen. Like that's just not my thing. Like I'm totally content. Like it's an old school movie theater. Like you probably saw movies in when you were fucking 6-7 years old.
Hard plastic chairs with like a little bit of
it's
cushion.
good. Then they actually put in some new chairs last year. That's why the prices went up from like $7 to $9.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They like actually digitized it and stuff. It was really weird because the theater was like a total throwback to like where I saw like Rocky 3 with my dad in like '83 or whatever.
Fuck.
But I'll probably go re-see it. I want to hang out with it some more. I liked it. I definitely at one point during the movie said to Sarah, like during one of the funny scenes, because I thought like a lot of the comedy in it was really funny and I laughed, but I was like, people are gonna be bummed about how silly this gets at times.
It gets
and then
silly.
At the end of the movie, like everybody in my theater like applauded, like seemed to like it, like whatever. And I liked it, but I definitely left the movie going, I don't think people are going to like this. Like, there's going to be a lot of people. This is going to be a weird fucking vibe on this movie.
It's very divisive.
Yeah, and one of the things I read was like, no one hates Star Wars movies more than Star Wars fans, which is kind of true. It's funny to me, like a lot of people hated Force Awakens because it was too much like Star Wars.
I liked it.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was too much like Star Wars. Like the original
it's a
Star
New
Wars. It was
which I will admit, as much as I like it, it is a New Hope.
It was basically
that's fine.
like a sort of a rebooted weird version of New Hope. This movie was totally not a Star Wars movie. It didn't feel like a Star Wars movie at all. And then people were like, "Oh, I didn't feel like a Star Wars movie." It's like, what the fuck? I mean, maybe it's not the same people, but like, what do you want? Like, if you do something that's like feels similar, like, oh, it's just a fucking going back to the old thing. It's actually kind of funny and ironic to me that J.J. Abrams did the first one. He's going to come back and do the third one. And this movie, to me, at times felt more like a Star Trek movie.
Okay.
Like some of the weird shit in it, like the rebel or the whatever the hell the rebel.
Poe?
No, that when
Rose?
When what's her name? The purple haired.
The admiral.
The other admiral, yeah.
Hoth.
No, I was trying to think of her real name,
Hux.
and I'm blaming on that. But when she takes the ship,
Purple hair lady.
Yeah, when she goes through the enemy.
That was badass.
And it goes
Light
completely
speed.
silent.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, like that felt super Star Trek to me. Like even the scene with Rey, like when she's in the cave and they do like the mirror thing where she's like duplicating herself, like that was super weird, like 70s, early 80s sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like the multiple reflections of herself.
I felt like it was an amplified the vision that Luke has at the tree.
It it was supposed to be similar to Luke in the cave on Dagobah.
Right.
Remember the cave?
Yeah, exactly.
But, like that to me, it like felt a lot more Star Trek-y. Like the movie was a little more cerebral and was darker. Not to say that it was highbrow cerebral, but it was darker and more cerebral than other Star Wars films.
It's a lot of failure. The whole movie's about failure.
Yeah, which is to me more like Star Trek, which is ironic because J.J. Abrams rebooted Star Trek,
right? Yeah,
and made those movies actually feel like Star Wars movies. That's like that's when I left those two movies going, those were fucking awesome.
Yeah,
they were Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
He didn't do Star Trek.
I was definitely in that like Star Wars versus Star Trek. Like I wasn't in the frame of mind to say I like them both. I was a kid, so for me it was Star Wars and fuck Trekkies.
Yeah, I always liked both. They're totally different animals.
They
like,
are.
You can't really compare them.
As I got older and I saw the JJ ones, like those made me then turn around and go, all right.
But like that's like the JJ ones aren't a good representation.
They're not,
Star
but
Trek.
they were enough to trigger me to switch back.
The third one, oddly enough, which was directed by one of the Fast and Furious directors, which everybody was like, "Why the fuck did they get a? This is going to be bullshit."
I've seen the third one.
It's really fucking
Discovery?
good.
The one with the chick with the black makeup, the black and white.
Yeah.
I think it's Discovery or
I can't even remember.
Whatever it may be. I haven't seen.
I went to see it in the theater, and it's very good. And it feels more like a Star Trek movie.
Okay.
It's much more like Star Trek, which is so strange because you have this sci-fi guy who did Lost and all that stuff, and he turned them into action films. And you have the guy who did the fucking Faster, Furious 17 or whatever. And he goes and does one, and you're like, oh, this felt like one of the old movies.
Yeah. I'm in a very small minority that actually enjoys some of the Fast and Furious movies.
I know I do too. And I only ever watched them because I found out when I lived in Echo Park, I was a building manager, and one day I looked outside and somebody was like pointing at my apartment, like talking to a dude, and was like, go up there. And I was like, oh, why are you sending someone to my apartment? No, leave me alone. This guy, so I kind of walked out and was like, hey, and the guy had like a Universal pictures golf shirt on, and he gave me a business card that was like, Fast and Furious 4 or whatever, or 3. And it's like, hey, I'm a location scout. We're going to be filming the sequel. It was the first movie back from. It was the first one back that Vin Diesel was in.
5?
No. The 5 is the first one with The Rock. So it was the fourth one. because it was Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, he was back in the fourth one. Yeah,
it was because it was the Fast and Furious, and the fourth one was Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
but that was so that's what they were doing, and he was like, oh well, yeah, can we rent the parking space because like the house from the first movie's behind you, and I was like, oh yeah, of course it is. Never seen any of these movies. So oddly enough, one night after Raw, Monday Night Raw on USA, it was like, up next is the Fast and the Furious, and I was like, oh, I'll keep this on. And like literally, I'm like, oh fuck, this whole movie is filmed on my block. Like the sandwich shop that the sister runs, where they get in that fight outside, like that opens the first movie. That was literally around the corner from my house. Like I walked my dog by that I've walked by that, like what's actually a bodega. It's not a sandwich shop. Yeah. I've walked by that place literally thousands of times in the 10 years I've lived there. And the house was right behind me. So like every time they filmed a movie, there would be like, I'd be trying to walk the dog, and it would be like, oh, okay, all right, somebody get Vin Diesel out of my way, please. Dog, Ava needs to poop, you know. But yeah, so they would film all that stuff, and of course, in the last one, they blew the house. Well, it was weird because like they blew the house up in the movie. So like for like a couple of days, like walking by that house, there was like house shit, like a sink and like a bed frame and stuff like on the lawn, and they did the whole house up, like it had been burned, and they had to move stuff. It was crazy, like because they had built like that garage doesn't actually exist there. Yeah, but like the people that lived there like lived normal lives, so they had other stuff like fences and trees and stuff, and they'd pull everything out. Yeah, and I guess I talked to a friend of mine, like a friend of a friend worked for Universal, and I guess like by the third or fourth time they had to rent the house out for 2 months or whatever. The producer was like, the dumbest move I've ever made was not just buying this house when we made the first one. Right. We have spent so much money renting it and like renovating it and stuff, but it's like crazy because like the Hollywood, like the tour vans go by there. Like the people, like there's an asshole driving by, like
and to your left.
Yeah, if you look over here. Yeah, if you look over here, and like
oh God. Well, we've managed to get off on another tangent.
But
from Star Wars, we landed in Fast and Furious
because of Star Trek. But I liked it. I want to see it again. I completely understand why people wouldn't like it and didn't like it. I completely get it. There was some. It was too funny at times. Like I think they tried to make up for how dark it got by
adding more comedy,
by adding more slapstick
Dude,
stuff.
I mean, the fucking first scene is a
with
joke.
Poe. Like,
hello? Talking to the internet. I can't hear you. I'm holding for Hux.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
The dialogue got too modern at times. Like, the idea that you were holding for somebody.
Right.
I think you mentioned the big-ass door comment. Like, that's one big-ass door.
Yeah, I mean, there's just...
There was something... God, there was something else in the... where Yoda with the books, like the ancient texts. Like, read them, you have. Page turners, they were. Or whatever, but like the fact that like Yoda's calling a book a page turner, like there was a lot of more modern dialogue in it that I was like, oh, that's a little weird.
Yeah, dude. See so that's my complaints with the film. Like a lot of people keep giving me shit, like, oh, it's not what you expected. Oh, there's too many twists, and they tried to break the mold of Hollywood cinema, and it's like, okay, that's all fine and dandy. The ideas are great. I like the concept of the old jaded Luke Skywalker. But did he really need to fucking brush his shoulder off?
Well, especially like that and that wicked like fucking Jay-Z video style.
What the fuck was that? I expected him to bust out a grill and fucking like the Joker and shit. Like, come on, man. The fucking tossing of the lightsaber bothered me too. Like,
he could have just dropped it. Like, I feel like that would have even been a more like
thrown it angrily.
Yeah, like just having it, looking at it, and just going like that would have been made. He didn't really need it tossed. Like that was a little weird. Him milking the sea cow was strange,
especially in this climate. And it's just like, really, we want like abuse of animals on like him,
I mean, it's sucking a sea cow. I mean, like he's milking a cow.
But the thing looked sentient. Like it looked at Ray like, oh my God, my titties. Like like it was bummed out that this was happening. It wasn't stoked. I don't know, man. It's just bad moves all around, bad execution. I get that you want the whole. The 1%er aspect shown in the movie with the casino scene, like that was the first time you see the 1%ers of the Star Wars universe, and it presents the whole aspect of gray characters. Like Benicio del Toro's character is a gray character, and so you want to open up the minds of the fans so you acknowledge that good and evil are bullshit, basically.
Right.
Cool concept, but you fucked it all up, dude. I didn't need a 30-minute casino scene.
The casino scene was strange, and the fact that they got arrested, like it was it was strange.
Yeah.
And one thing I read that was that I kind of agree with, and all right, so this is about Billy D. Williams and Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
I've heard he's not in the best health, so that may be why he's not in any of these movies.
He's not in the best health.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm not following Billy D. Williams, but like they had like made a statement like, Billy D. Williams isn't in these movies, but like that kind of the casino scene would have actually been kind of a cool opportunity
to bring him in,
thrown in Lando Calrissian, even if he's just like sitting at a table playing cards and he laughs.
Stan Lee cameo style.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Those fucking crazy kids, like that kind of thing.
Oh, they're at it again.
Yeah, like the rebellion, they'll never stop rebelling.
Yeah.
But
I would have taken that cheese camp over the fact that he's not even there, man. Like, the fact that whole scene made no sense, man. I don't know, dude.
Yeah, and like their outfits were like tuxedos.
Yeah, I get that.
I didn't dislike the scene, and I got it, but
it's too long.
It was very long.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the fact they were in there for a while, and then they get captured, and they got to escape, and you could have probably trimmed that a little bit.
Dude, and I mean, and I know they're saying, like, forget the past. You could have taken a little bit of the very good story that was written about Luke after the fact and the Great Jedi and all that stuff. Like, you didn't have to introduce great characters via Benicio del Toro's stuttering code breaker. Like, really? That's where we're going to introduce Gray into the mix? Like,
they'd been doing the Gray Force user. I mean, really, the whole, like, that's one of them. I was talking to a friend that just saw it tonight earlier. And, I mean, that's one of the things, like, I mean, Vader was always conflicted. And like even like the way that Palpatine turns Vader in Revenge of the Sith episode 3 is that he basically points out to him the problems with the dogmatic black and white view of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Like you have to be flexible. Yeah. Which he as a Sith technically isn't flexible, but I guess they're more flexible because they're bad guys, so they can use whatever they want. Whereas a Jedi would never use the dark side.
Right.
So like that kind of has been introduced all along. And lots of people have been saying that, like, oh, they destroyed the mythology. And it's like, no, they didn't. First of all, they created the mythology, so they can destroy it too. Like they can tell you, like, hey, this is what we thought. Like, and this isn't like Terminator 3, where you did the whole our fate is what we make thing for 2 fucking movies, and then the 3rd movie they're like, oh shit, nuclear bomb is gonna go off anyway because you fucked. Yeah, it wasn't like that at all. Like, if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, if you watch Star Wars Clone Wars, and like I don't play the video games, I haven't read any of the extended books and stuff, but the concept of the Gray Force user has been brought up multiple fucking times. Like it's not a new concept,
but not in the movies.
In the movies.
That's what I meant when I said that. Like this is our first reveal of gray characters.
Absolutely,
in a
but
movie,
but to me, like there are people that seem to be like Star Wars super fans that should be aware of the fact that this concept of a gray Jedi or a gray Force user.
There are levels of Star Wars fans of like people that buy all the merchandise, or there's people that actually read all the lore and dig into the
and like so I wasn't bothered by it at all, and like I kind of found the whole thing intriguing, like the whole like especially when they sort of meet up and like sort of him coming to the light, her going into the dark, like where's it going to go exactly?
Yeah,
in the excuse me again, but the fight in the throne room is probably one of the best lightsaber fights in all 7.
The Kylo and Rey.
Yeah, versus the Praetorian Guard. Yeah.
It's just very, very sad that it was, what followed the dumbest fucking move, in my opinion. The killing of Snoke. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry. Look, you could have killed him. That's fine. I'm not saying don't kill him. I'm also not saying make him the big bad or whatever. Mm-hmm. But give him a little context, man, because they're trying to explain it like, oh, Kylo killed him so he can succeed him and become the next supreme leader, and it's so poetic and all this. Like, view it from this point. I'm like, I can't because Snoke means nothing. So Kylo killing him means nothing to me.
Yeah, all we really know is like he's like a big scary guy.
Yeah,
who is dressed like Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, what's up with the gold robe?
I don't know. It was very strange, and the fact that the throne room, again, this is like another throwback. Like I was seeing, like it felt more like Star Trek at times. A lot of the cinematography had a 70s, early 80s sci-fi feel.
I liked that.
Even 2001, like the fact, not the year 2001, the film 2001.
Yeah.
Kubrick.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Where like the fact that Snoke's throne room is just like this red wall. It's all red. Like it looks like an old sci-fi movie where they couldn't afford a background. Like THX 1138, where everything is like in front of the white. Yeah. Like that to me felt like super weird. Like his whole throne room is like this giant red wall.
I dug that. I
did too. But again, it was more of a nod towards like a Kubrick vibe to me. Like that whole like, and him in the weird like the pimp robe, in front of like it was like this weird 70s feel that we hadn't.
And I really enjoyed his dialogue. It's just it wasn't really a lot of it. And
they cut him in half. Like I actually jumped like that happened. I wasn't like scared. I was like when I jumped and like looked at Sarah. I was like, okay, that happened. Yeah, like we have no idea who he is. And I granted, like I guess it's covered in some of the extended stuff.
Yeah, but fuck you for trying to make us spend more money on.
I'm not going to read anything.
No, I mean I'm curious to read the Bloodlines book because apparently that talks about Kylo training with Luke and the Knights of Ren situation. So I kind of want to read that, but I'd rather see that in the movie.
Do we have what the fuck happened in the Knights of Ren?
Doesn't matter. We should have a film about it with Snoke, and that would make me feel so much better.
Are they dead? But like, because he's like
Kylo probably killed them all. Like Luke,
I mean, because Luke acknowledges that he took some of the students with him, so we're assuming that they become the Knights of Ren.
Yeah,
and even in the first movie where Snoke says like Kylo, master of the, Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
So, and like she has that that's one of her flashbacks when she grabs the lightsaber, or flash forwards, or visions. Let's call it a vision.
Yeah.
That scene where like she's surrounded by what we presume are the Knights of Ren, and Kylo presumably kills one of them. So maybe that's a flash forward to episode 9.
That'd be amazing if it is, and hopefully maybe that's what it is, but I doubt it.
But like, you know what? Like, I'd probably have to go back and look for this, but I saw some composite type drawings or whatever of the Knights of Ren, and I was like expecting that they were going to be in this film. Like, some photos of some drawings have leaked, and or storyboard drawings or whatever of the Knights of Ren. Part of me thinks that that's what the Praetorian Guards are now. Because they all had weird looks like that with like different weapons. Like they didn't have lightsabers.
That is true. It could be them. Yeah.
So I think that they may have converted their idea of what the Knights of Ren were going to be into the Praetorian Guards, and there are no more Knights of Ren.
Yeah, that's probably true.
What I said to you the other day, I'm like, look, so the movie's been out less than a week. I don't know. I haven't heard anything as far as the studio goes. I mean, I know the movie's making like record-breaking numbers. Not surprising. Before this even came out, like a month or so ago, they announced that Rian Johnson was going to helm the next trilogy that was going to be not related to the Skywalkers. They were giving him the keys to launch this new thing. I am not going to be surprised if he gets pulled from that based on the initial reaction. Granted, like I guess we'll see after this weekend, the second weekend, like if money starts to drop, like what the ultimate reaction is to the film. Because maybe it is just a bunch of nerds that are on Facebook and Twitter just bitching about it, and people actually really like it. But part of me thinks with JJ coming into the next film, like I said, and we talked about this on our own via text earlier in the week, with JJ coming in the next one and JJ's specialty sort of being he's like an homage filmmaker, like, make me a Steven Spielberg film. Here's Super 8. Like, shit, it's the best Steven Spielberg film since fucking E.T. Like part of me thinks that like JJ's going to come in and people are going to be like, oh, yes. Like, okay, yeah. Kylo is lying to Ren. Her parents are she is fucking Palpatine's daughter. Like, I don't know that we're going to be able to fix Snoke, really. Like, he's just kind of cut in half.
No, man. Like, look, I don't want them to... I don't care about Rey's parents.
I don't either, and I think that was important. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's the same thing with Snoke. It didn't really matter, ultimately. And that's what a lot of people are pissed. Like, because we spent 2 years... Lots of people spent 2 years thinking... having arguments and Facebook debates and conversations. People like us that are doing podcasts like have jerked off for 2 years. Like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think that they could have done all this the same way, just with a little thing. Like, if they would have just kind of explained, okay, your parents are nobody, but you're a child of the midichlorians or whatever. You're the child of the Force, kind of like how Anakin was like immaculately conceived or whatever. If you were to bring that aspect in, like, hey, you were born of the Force.
We never need to hear about the midichlorians again. B, I mean, he was, and look, she very well could be like an immaculate conception situation as well. That may be what they unveil, like much like Anakin was. Like she's another
Born
creation of the Force.
Yeah.
But like my dad said that she was like, well, she has to have some sort of Jedi lineage, and I was like, but the Jedi couldn't marry nor have kids, so none of the Jedi outside of the Skywalkers technically have Jedi lineage.
Right.
Like people were just born with this ability, and if the Jedi were able to detect you in the universe, they came and found you as a little kid and were like, oh, hey, you're on Tatooine, you're a little kid, you're strong in the Force, come with us, we're going to take you to the academy. And that's what the Jedis did. So they found Force sensitive people, brought them in. Some of them didn't get picked up, but like some did, most or lots did. So the idea that like she has to be born of a Jedi lineage doesn't actually fit in with their own lore. Yeah,
well, it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to be from the lineage. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. She's just born strong in the Force.
But all they would have to do is just say that, like, hey, she's just born Force sensitive.
Well, I thought that was kind of implied when it was like your parents aren't anybody. Like that's what it said. Like it was like you're not.
But that's the thing. You're assuming that the crowd is smart enough to take the implication. I was okay. I get the implication, but that's why some people are so upset that there's no reveal on the parents. But I say if
those other crappy movies weren't that long ago. Everybody saw those crappy movies. We all deny it, but we've all seen them multiple times.
For sure. But that's like just throw in there that she's born of the Force. That also might take care of the fucking naysayers of which I'm a part of. That why is Rey so strong and so well, like she can fight so well when she hasn't really had much training in the Force. How can she pick up those rocks when it took fucking forever for like?
Because she's stronger in it. Like that's all. Like I mean, because like even look, like I made these jokes during because like when the prequels came out and like Anakin, we don't know if we can train you. You're too old. Like the kid was like fucking 6. Yeah. Like oh, you're too old. Like you're too old to start training and all this stuff. And like my joke with like one of my old bosses when I worked at New York Comics was that like Luke was the fucking GEDI Jedi, like because like he didn't really go to school, like he just got his fucking diploma. And like granted, this scene in Empire where they're on apparently according to lore or timeline, like he's on fucking Dagobah for months. Like Han and Leia are flying around space without the fucking hyperspace for months and months. Like Empire is like a year long. That movie specifically like takes like place over about a year. So Luke is there for a long time and learns a bunch of shit. But like they didn't want to train Anakin because at 5 or 6 he was too old to start the training.
Yeah.
And he ends up becoming like, the most powerful Jedi on the planet. And like Luke really picks up all this shit like in a couple of days on the Millennium Falcon with Obi-Wan. Then Obi-Wan like, Force Ghost talks to him a bit between movies.
Yeah.
Then he spends a couple months with Yoda. And then by the end, but like after a couple months with Yoda and getting his hand cut off by his father and learning his father is Darth Vader, he's fucking wearing the black Jedi shit, going down. And apparently, I think according to like the books, extended stuff, he goes to the space between Empire and Jedi is actually like a considerable amount of time, like a year. Yeah. And he goes down and he goes to Obi-Wan's hut and like that's where he builds his green lightsaber and like is studying the shit that Obi-Wan has around. So he's like learning from Obi-Wan, but like really like Luke's got like fucking 3 years combined of actual training. So like for Rey to be like all of a sudden get hit with this shit and like, oh my God, it's magic. Like we're critiquing we're critiquing a non-existent magic. Like some people are stronger than others. Like
even pull off some bullshit like Matrix and like now Kung Fu, Neo.
Yeah, or like I mean, why can Wolverine always kick Sabretooth's ass even though he's half his size? It's just fucking. It is what it is, dude.
It's in the writing, man.
Yeah,
it's in the writing. But yeah, that's ultimately my point. Like I don't care about the theories. I like where the story went. I like what they were trying to do. I really honestly don't like the way they did it. I feel that movie could have been a lot better. Like I'm not a filmmaker. And I'm not a professional film writer. I've written things, but I'm not a professional film writer. So honestly, I shouldn't feel that I could come up with a better fucking way to film that exact story. Like, I shouldn't feel that way. I'm not a film writer. I'm not a fucking.
Yeah. I want to see it again before I like officially like weigh in, because like I definitely like I liked all the prequels when I saw them. I was like, oh, these are great. This is so much fun. And like I think there is a certain amount of like nostalgia where you're like, oh, this is really good.
They started losing me at 2. I liked the first one, even though after revisiting the first one, I was like, there's only 2 really good things.
The first one is terrible. The end, the fight
pod
with
race
Darth Maul.
And Darth Maul.
Oh, dude, the pod race.
I liked it.
Oh, Eddie.
At the time period, it was cool.
Fine.
The time period, it was contemporary.
The shit with Darth Maul at the end is great. It's one of the better battles in any of the movies.
Well, it's one of the, I've talked to somebody about this. Like, the music is so important to that battle. Think about it. That fucking Duel of the Fates really
is
really.
That the do 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 do?
No, the people.
Oh yeah.
Like that became a fucking iconic theme, and it made that fight scene. Like really, because they do the zoom ins, like chorus, Darth Maul's face, chorus on Obi-Wan. You know, like it's very epic. But it plays a really important part, and I feel like they don't do that anymore. Like involve the music. The music in Last Jedi was good, but nothing stood out. Nothing popped at me like, oh my god, that's such an incredible theme. Like, no, that's more John Williams, Star Wars stuff going on in the back. Lots of horns and weird violins. I missed that. I missed the I guess the level of composing that went into all of it. Like, that's what I'm upset about. All of it. The writing of the movie, the story, the character development, and the music. All that's missing. The concept and the ideas and the theories or whatever that people are coming up with, that's fine. Everybody's entitled. I don't really care. I just want a little more quality, and I feel that Disney has the money to do so and like do it right. Like and not be afraid to, hey, we don't maybe need to release it next year. If you get a movie back from Rian Johnson and you're like, fuck, dude, what did you do? Mark Hamill's really mad. Like he's in every interview bitching about what you did to the character. But fuck it, we have to release it because we have our timeline, you know? No, just fucking stop. Like right now, even with the Avengers, I'm totally down, even though the trailer's out, I'm totally down for them to stop production on the Infinity War, delay it another year, and bring me the X-Men. And bring me the Fantastic Four, dude. Bring them into the Infinity War.
No, it's a long game. Long game with that shit.
Yeah, but now it's going to be pointless. Like, start over a long game. Like, all the attachment that we've grown to Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and all these people because we've been watching movies for 10 years now of Avengers characters. I want to see those characters with Hugh Jackman. I don't want to see new X-Men with new Avengers 10 years from now.
I don't. I don't want those X-Men. I don't want them back. I want new X-Men.
Well, I could take new X-Men, but I want Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I don't.
I'm good. I want him back.
I'm totally fine with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He was just a different character than Wolverine.
Sure.
Like, he was a different Wolverine.
Sure.
You know, to me, the biggest fuck up of this whole thing is somehow no one was able to get Tom Hardy to be the new Wolverine. Because that was the guy, like, he was the guy when I heard Hugh Jackman was, like, leaving, I was like, Tom Hardy. And then read an interview, like, a year later where Jackman was like, yeah, Tom Hardy's the guy that I would pick to replace me. Tom Hardy's, like, 5'6" in real life.
Yeah.
He's built, like, a brick shit house.
Yeah.
He's got an accent.
Yeah.
So he could, like, and he's, like, good with voices. So he could make Wolverine sound like he's, you know, from the fucking wilderness in Canada. He's played fucked up characters. He's played Bane. He's played Mad Max. Like,
yeah,
I want my new Wolverine to not be Hugh Jackman. Like, to be like what Hugh Jackman was.
Well,
like,
you know,
not that there's a problem with that, but the new Wolverine should be like.
I would like for Hugh Jackman to come back as Old Man Logan, because that happens in the comics. We have Old Man Logan fighting in the Secret Wars, like, and there's like a new Wolverine, which is a girl, which is X-23.
X-23 is his
but
daughter.
Like, I wouldn't mind if they even have both of the, like, if they were to recast regular Wolverine as a guy, whoever it may be, Tom Hardy or whatever, and then also have Old Man Logan be a part of it, like a separate character from a different timeline or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Well, that's one thing I think that they may be able to do moving forward, especially after going through Infinity Wars, is, you know, maybe at some point the next big movement after a few solo films or whatever is that they go into like a Secret Wars type thing.
They're definitely going to do Secret Wars at some point.
And then you can do, Civil War, Infinity War, Secret War.
The thing with Infinity
Persian
War,
Gulf War.
Yeah, the thing that bothers me about the Infinity War movies is that like everybody's like, "Oh, you're excited?" Like, I'm excited to see Thanos, obviously,
Right?
But I also am not putting all my eggs in that basket. Like, I don't think they're gonna pull it off, because if you read the comics, like the Infinity Gauntlet is the story of him gaining the gauntlet and then like waging war, and then there's the Infinity War arc, which is basically everyone has a doppelganger. So it's like Wolverine versus bad Wolverine, and like Hulk versus bad Hulk, and they're not going to pull that off. They can't pull that off.
But I think I just real quick though before we wrap up, I think that's what they can do with they can do with the Marvel movies, like kind of what they've unsuccessfully done with Terminator, and what they have done with Star Trek is anytime you throw in the option of time travel or multiple dimension travel. You can bring in new characters easily, or you can retcon things.
Yeah.
Like you can something, even the next Secret War, even like the sequel to Infinity War, the fourth Avengers film, which will be out in like 3 years, 3 years. Whatever.
Well, it's not even Infinity War Part 2 anymore.
Right. Like whatever that one is going to be called. Like that's a film where you could easily sort of like start bringing in like an alternate Captain America, or like somebody from an alternate timeline can come in, because that's the flexibility you have with something like that. Whereas Star Wars, like there's no time travel, there's no dimension travel. That's never been a thing. Like Terminator, you can reboot easily because you can be like, you've probably seen that fucking timeline that somebody made up where they do a complete timeline with all of the Terminator stories, including the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Because, like, in theory, they could all have happened because it's all time travel. You're always going back and restarting it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think where they should go, this is where I think they should go with this whole thing. Infinity War, people need to die.
Yeah.
Some characters need to die.
Definitely.
And not come back via time stone. Like, they just need to be dead. And also, they need to introduce some kind of aspect of Thanos' obsession with death. The fact that he manifests a woman, like he literally creates a female human manifestation of death, which he falls in love with, and everything that he does, the reason he even gets the gems and wants the gauntlet and all this shit is to please her. And it's this like really crazy, mad villain love story thing. They need to touch on that. They don't need to give me the whole thing. Give me something. That gives me the motivation behind Thanos. Otherwise, if they don't bring it up, he's just a big purple dude that wants to dominate the world like every other generic fucking cosmic villain that shows up. I want to eat everything. No, give me the motivation behind it. That's what made him such an endearing character in the first place for me. So if they do that, kill off some of the Avengers, they can then start, like Falcon can become Cap, because that happens in the comics.
I would think it would be Bucky. I don't think they'll do Falcon because Falcon's established on his own.
Yeah, but they did it in the comics.
No, I know that they've done that more recently.
Yeah, like I think they're going to aim more recent. I think they'll do. But
Bucky became Cap first, and like,
then transferred it over to the.
But that's the thing. Like, Bucky isn't a superhero. Like, he doesn't have a name. Bucky, or Winter Soldier or whatever. Like, Falcon is Falcon.
Yeah.
Bucky can all of a sudden become Captain America and like, oh, it's the new Captain America. You know what I'm saying? Like
give him one movie and then have it transfer over to the Falcon like the comics.
I can also see problems with it going over with the general public, because the general public doesn't read the comic books, and people get all fucking pissed off when people like, oh, Spider-Man's a fucking Dominican kid now. Like, right. You're gonna run into that.
Look,
those people are fucking idiots.
And look, but I'm not a sexist. I think everybody deserves all kinds of equality. But I really don't like the fact that there was a female Thor. Make a new fucking character. Like, not because women don't deserve to be Thor, more just like, that just seems lazy. You're being lazy, guys. You're just like, hey,
it was a weird storyline from what I understand.
Like, we need to have more female superheroes, so they just make her Thor. That's lazy.
That's been Stan Lee's argument about the whole like rebooting characters as different races or different sexes and stuff. Is like Stan Lee's thing is like, don't turn Thor into a woman. Create an amazing new female character, like strong, world. Powerful female character.
Yeah,
like you don't need to make Spider-Man a Dominican kid. Why don't you find a new character for a Dominican kid? And I think that's a little easier said than done. Like new characters don't tend to work real
but they've done it successfully with like Supergirl and fucking She-Hulk.
Supergirl's been around for fucking 50 years.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though.
But like, what's the most recent new character that's really blown up?
Oh, no. I'm not saying that exists. I'm saying that they should definitely write new female characters.
Yeah,
but like they didn't need to make the female Thor. They could have just done like Thor, like a different name. Like
I completely agree.
And she has all the similar powers because she's from the same planet and whatnot.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, what is the honestly, what is the most recent comic book character that you can think of that's like sort of a mega star in the comic world right now? And I have one, and I want to hear what you say because the one I'm about to say is fucking.
I mean, one of the more popular ones that I've seen, and I go to a lot of cons.
Yeah.
So I mean, Spider-Gwen is a thing that's like super popular. Spider-Gwen, and then there's also like Deadpool Gwen or Dead Gwen.
Oh, I was gonna say Deadpool
Gwen
himself
or Deadpool. Yeah.
Like that's a character that's blown up in culture in the past 5 years. That's been around, but like he's probably the newest comic book character I can think of as somebody who's like. Grew up reading comic books. Who's a casual follower, more into movies of comic books now.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, Deadpool's really the only character that I could consider new that's had like a big cultural impact. And fucking Deadpool's been around for 25 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there aren't a lot of new.
So it's easier said than done for them to put out like. I mean, you've got like you've got the Runaways, which now is a TV show and stuff like New Warriors, where they've had like mixed race, mixed gendered. Like teams and stuff, those things haven't really blown up. Like I remember New Warriors. I don't think I heard of Runaways. Although I've been watching it and actually like it.
I haven't watched it. I know what it is, and I've heard people talk about it, but I can't.
It's decent.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things, dude. Like, there's comic books that deserve to be big, like Saga. I don't know if you've ever heard of Saga, but it's from Image Comics, and people love it. I love it. I think it's a really great, new, and interesting story, but. No one like it's not big. It's not. They're not gonna. The Saga movie isn't happening anytime soon. You know what I mean? So it is weird. There's nothing that has broken the mainstream. But if you think about it, the mainstream it's in every industry too. Like it's the comics, the movies. You know, like what are some of the biggest movies right now? Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, no, everybody
shit.
like
Jurassic Park.
I don't know whether it's. Hey, I like Jurassic World, but I think I don't know if it's necessarily like whether it's what the population wants or what the companies feed us or a little of column A, column B. But like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, I had a great fucking meeting earlier this year. Again, not even earlier this year, like 2 months ago, with a big festival promoter. And we just kind of just discussing like the concert industry in general. And it was like, sort of the fact that like people like Petty are dying, like, the big draws are dying out, and there's no one really to replace them. And he and I had this like bullshit conversation, kind of like not bullshit conversation, but a conversation just bullshitting. And it was like, okay, can you name the stadium acts that still exist? And we kind of going through it, and it's like Green Day, first of all, aren't really a stadium act, even though they just did a stadium tour. But like Green Day are probably like if you get outside of like Taylor Swift.
Right.
Or like real pop stuff. If you go into like a more rock thing, Green Day are probably the youngest stadium act. Green Day have been around for close to 30 years. Metallica have been around for close to 40 years. U2 have been around for 40 years. Like these are, and then you like, let's go back to stadium acts. I'm like going through that. And again, eliminating, hip hop, pop stuff, which is sort of, for the most part, kind of flash in the pan. Outside of like, Gaga, Taylor Swift, Beyonce. I mean, I'm like, most of these people aren't around a long time. They'll do like a stadium tour or two or arena tour or two and gone. But like if you look at bands that can actually sell a real arena, bands that are playing like, like Pearl Jam, Foo Fighters and stuff, like there's not many bands in the past decade that are at that level.
No, not at all.
So yeah, it's like, so what, you kind of like, you go like music industry, why don't you take more of a risk? Which I'm one of those people that says that, but then I'm also at the same time like, well, fuck, there's no return on that shit.
No.
because like they're seeing like, oh, Pro Jam can still go out and do 50,000 tickets if they play Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
AC/DC can still do 50,000. Fucking Guns N' Roses can still do 50,000. You know, and it's like, can we? You know, like Foo Fighters again. Foo Fighters' first record came out when I was a senior in high school. Like that was 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Foo Fighters are not like a new band. Like Foo Fighters are a classic rock band at this point.
Yeah, but it's kind of like do you really see Avenged Sevenfold in Rolling Stone status? Like in their 50s,
No,
60s,
I mean like
shows?
look, Avenged have been around for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I mean like this is no diss to Avenged at all. Like
No.
I actually like the band, but like I mean they're 7,000, 8,000, which is fucking huge and awesome.
Yeah.
There's nothing but like they're one of the biggest bands in the world. Like them, Five Finger Death Punch, like those bands are sort of hovering in that like just below 10,000 range.
Slipknot.
Slipknot are bigger than that,
You think
but again,
so?
they're 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slipknot. Yeah, Korn are maybe a little bigger depending where you're at. Like Rammstein are one that are actually bigger.
Oh, dude.
But they don't really do full tours and stuff.
They don't. They're very sporadic, and their fucking show
Is like it's like going to the
best
theater.
fucking
It's not really,
show.
but
Yeah. It's not about the music. It's about the whole show.
yeah, like Disturbed could do arenas if they came out. Slipknot can do arenas of some
God,
kind.
Disturbed got really big again. Like out of nowhere with that fucking Sound of Silence single they did.
They're just a big band. When you put out a bunch of hits,
God, man.
like you can come back out because people are gonna be like, oh shit, they're gonna crank out the hits.
Dude, WWE 2K18 music carefully curated by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, had Down with the Sickness in the soundtrack.
Dude, he's down with the sickness. What do you want to say, man?
What could potentially be the biggest video game in sports entertainment, WWE's 2K18. It's the biggest fucking sports entertainment video game.
Yeah.
There isn't any fucking Bullet Club games. You know, as much as I'd love to play that, by the way. Make a video game. There should be somebody making a New Japan Pro Wrestling video game right now, I would think. I would hope. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. We've been going on for 2 hours. Thanks, dude, for coming over.
Of course, and I'll see you tomorrow when we film.
Finally record for another 3
record
hours.
our other podcast.
We do a fucking recap of the pay-per-views and stuff. But yeah, come check us both out at Let There Be Heels if you want to hear some wrestling talk, and we go on the same amount of tangents as we did tonight.
Yeah, there's really no. we have to at some point figure out either how to keep it on track or just be like, hey, this is we talk shit for 3 hours about random stuff.
Yeah, but check us both out at Let There Be Heels. You can follow Mark on social media if you would like.
Yeah, I'm Mark J. Vieira, MarkJVieira, on pretty much all, Instagram, Twitter, the normal stuff.
Cool. Yeah, please do all the things like and subscribe and leave reviews on iTunes and all that good stuff for us. I have T-shirts now. We got stickers now.
And he's got stickers. I was very excited.
We got stickers today. T-shirts are going to become a permanent thing with One Effing Inc., actually. I guess I might as well talk about that. But it was a one-time deal for a month, but it did well, and he offered to just become like a sponsor. So
nice.
Like we're going to have shirts available year-round, available for everyone. Hoodies, customizable shit. It's pretty interesting. And then also, I'm going to put up a store soon with the fucking pop vinyls because people have been asking. Like, I have 4 sold. So I have to put up a store so they can pay me so I can order these pop vinyls and get them out. Nice. So, I mean, it's only 4, but it's like, shit, dude, somebody wants a toy of me.
It's great.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. And, yeah, cheers.
Adios.